welcome to another edition of your favorite podcast, Hindsight is Horrifying. And tonight, we're doing something a little different. We're going down a different sort of rabbit hole. If you've got any LSD, take it. If you've got any coffee, drink it. Because tonight is 100% Terry Gilliam. We have 1988's Baron Munchausen. The Adventures of Baron Munchausen.
There you go.
Not The Adventures of Baron Munchausen by proxy. Very different movie. So it's the first movie that we have done on Hindsight is Horrifying that is named for a mental illness. Fun. And with that, I am going to hand this over to my co-host, Darth Jader, to tell us a little bit about what we are going to be doing tonight.
Good evening, listeners, and welcome back. As Jason said, we're happy to have you, as always. And yes, we are going down a very trippy rabbit hole for sure. And in order to do that, we're going to have to introduce our fantastic repeat guest.
She's back.
You know her, you love her from Hercules. We have Meg in the studio. And we are super excited to have her here, and we're going to let her give you guys a bit of a summary on what the hell this weird-ass movie is all about. So, Meg, take it away.
Self-applause.
Woo! I'll lend credence to that.
So this movie, I used to watch it on repeat as a kid. I would actually have to walk over to my grandma's house.
Is it a kid's movie?
No, it is not.
Because I went to buy it today on Amazon and it's listed under in kids movies, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, this is not a kids movie.
Well, that's what makes it such a perfect candidate for our show is the fact that it's a movie Meg probably shouldn't have been watching as a kid.
Yeah, but you know that good old PG rating. Because there was no PG-13.
We got away with so much more back when we were young, listeners. It was a fantastic, lawless time.
Yeah, if you're a chubby chaser, this is the movie for you.
Oh, my God.
Sorry, fat fetishist.
Whoa. I'm going to gloss right over that with
it's a Bob's Burgers joke.
Anyway, Gene, don't say chubby chasers. Oh, no, Tina, don't say that.
Yeah. Fat fetishist?
Oh, God. But
I like it when they say bumper to bumper.
Bumper to bumper.
I like traffic updates.
All right, so
anyway,
the movie. Come on.
Meg, give us a quick summary of what this movie is all about.
All right, so it's all back during the Age of Reason, during, their... I think it's a French town, or it's actually nondescript European town.
Yeah, they don't really get into the details of that. And the leader of it is French, though, so I can see why you would think it's French.
So the Ottoman Empire is attacking right outside their walls, and you have this play going on this whole time, depicting the grand adventures of Baron Munchausen to try, take these people out of the horrible war that's going on. And then you have this older gentleman come in saying that he's the real Baron Munchausen and all that stuff you're doing, you're doing it wrong. This is the way it really happened.
Yeah, he's mad because they're making a mockery of his adventures.
And then he proceeds to lie his ass off.
So
Does he,
you
though?
think.
Well, that's the question.
If anybody's seen the ending, you don't know.
Well, see, and I'm in a sort of interesting position in this movie because most of the time when we watch movies, I have a pretty strong position, yay or nay.
No.
Yeah, if you haven't noticed, yeah. Now, I have seen this movie many, many times, and I still don't know how I feel about it, which is, I think, appropriate for a Terry Gilliam movie. I've seen 12 Monkeys and Time Bandits and Brazil. I like Terry Gilliam. I'm a huge fan of the Pythons. But I still don't know how I feel about this movie. I'm sort of in the middle, but I'm in the studio with one person who absolutely adores the movie.
I do.
And one person who less than adores it.
It's not my favorite movie.
I think you're being generous.
It might be. Well, you gotta let me finish because it might be one of my least favorite movies.
I figured that you might appreciate it as someone coming from a literary background.
No, that's why I don't out and out hate it, because it does have really good imagery. It's got great references. It's clever. I can appreciate how clever the movie is without liking it at the same time. I'm talented that way.
See, I guess I love it so much is because, one, I watched it all the time as a kid, and then I revisited it in college, obviously when I was drunk most of the time.
There you go.
Well, I think we should talk about what type of movie this is, because for those in the audience who have never seen a Terry Gilliam movie, Terry Gilliam was, of course, a member of Monty Python.
Yes.
If you ever watched any of the old Pythons, Flying Circus and stuff like that, if you saw any of the animated sequences, those were Terry Gilliam's.
Yeah.
Which member of Monty Python is actually in this movie.
Yeah, Eric Idle is in it. Yeah. And
yes.
Michael Palin or Terry Jones, one was asked to be in it, and he politely declined. And Eric Idle actually said, when it was all over with, that it was one of the worst experiences in his career.
Oh, that's the same thing for Sarah Polley, the actress who plays Sally, the little girl. She thought it was really difficult and did not enjoy filming, apparently. She said...
I don't think at that age she would probably fully understand or appreciate what she was doing.
Not even because of the sense of humor or lack thereof, or however you want to phrase it. But she apparently went on to say the film left her with a lot of scars. Like, it was traumatic because there were explosions going off all over the place, and she'd be left in freezing cold water for hours on end. Like, even if there's not danger to a little kid, you're like, oh my God, I'm in freezing water and nobody's coming to help me. So
all right, that's fair.
she doesn't have
Mom
fond
won't let
memories.
me quit. Mom wants me to be a movie star.
I've got a frigid stage mother.
Well, and you know, one of the other interesting things about this movie is that, to me, it is a bit mysterious because you hear all of these stories about how when it was in production, it was a stereotypical production hell. The stories are that everything that could go wrong went wrong. We know it went over budget. It had like a $25 million budget, and it was claimed that it went up to something like $45 million. Terry Gilliam has consistently said that isn't true, that it did go over budget, but it was nowhere near that much over budget. And as far as the production things, his side of the story is that it was a complete fabrication, that the people at the completion bond company, who, you know, their job, you know, if you've ever seen Life Aquatic, they're the bond company stooges. You know, their job is to make sure the movie gets finished.
Sure.
That they were apparently leaking to the press all of these stories about all these bad things that were happening on the set. And then also spinning it sort of like they were the ones keeping everything together, because they're they were the completion bond people. And look at us, aren't we so good? Yeah.
Interesting.
And then the movie got completely screwed by Columbia because they had a change of management at Columbia. And it was essentially, the way Gilliam described it, he said it was like a new lion coming in and eating all the cubs of the old lion.
Oh, God.
Because they only struck 117 prints of this movie.
Wow.
So for the entire, in the United States, so the entire United States, there are 117 copies of this movie available for movie theaters.
Wow.
Yeah. Art films get 400.
Yeah, I was about to say that we're just basically like trying to light a match in an Arctic wind.
Yeah.
Like, it's just how in God's name are you going to make this successful?
So they did kill it. So it's interesting, you know, you watch it and you can certainly see this being a movie with a lot of production problems because it's a complicated movie and it's Terry Gilliam.
Well, and with all the practical effects that they've got, they're monstrous, and even some non-practical effects, but the sets are just intense.
Oh yeah. It's
absolutely. I always thought it, visually stimulating for sure.
Well, I definitely think whatever it went over budget, that money's on screen.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing is that you're not getting, and that actually leads me to another point, is that Robin Williams appeared in this movie for free. Because it was after the budget had already been cut and it was finalized, which is funny because I'm normally, whatever Robin Williams wants to do, he can do no wrong as far as I'm concerned. But this is one of the few roles I've seen him in, besides maybe 1 Hour Photo, where he kind of made me cringe. I was like, oh God, this is just so...
I forgot
that
about
part
1 Hour
does
Photo.
get a little LSD for sure.
Oh,
I'm
God,
not going to lie.
You need some sort of hallucinogen to really appreciate the King of the Moon.
Or the mind of a child. It worked out fine for me.
That's what I'm thinking, is that maybe this was about timing for me, because if I had seen this movie as a kid, I would probably have different feelings about it, because it's like you said, it's a big, fun, like very visually stimulating story, and that checks pretty much every box for a little kid.
It's certainly more visually stimulating at parts than others. I'm thinking of Uma Thurman, who apparently was...
I forget how much nudity is in this
There's
movie.
a lot of nudity in this movie.
I was kind of surprised my grandmother, who was a strict Catholic, allowed me to watch this
Did she have bad vision? Did she wear like really thick glasses?
No, but you know what? She was never in the room when I watched it, but she's always like, here you go.
Yeah.
Here's the movie.
Watch this movie. It's a comedy called Porky's. I think it's about pigs.
Well, it's like Porky Pig.
Well, it's like my dad watching, he loves Caddyshack, but I grew up with the 90s TV Cup version, and then when I went to go watch it as an adult, I was like, oh God, there are naked chicks everywhere.
Yeah, so you watched the 15-minute long version.
Exactly.
TV.
They cut out everything except for the gopher and Bill Murray.
It's a golf movie.
Yes.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of nudity. If anybody out here hasn't seen it and you go to look at it on Amazon, it will be listed as a kid's movie. It is not a kid's movie. It's not. I mean, the first nudity that you see, I swear, I mean,
The Sultan's
yeah, the
courtisans or whatever they were.
Oh, his harem, yeah.
Yeah, and I swear I thought it was a fat suit. I thought, oh, they've got somebody in a fat suit walking around, and I'm watching going, no, it's not a fat suit.
Goodness.
It's yeah, okay.
Good
all
on
right.
the movie for promoting beauty.
Beauty in all
Yeah,
shapes and sizes.
that's not what he was doing.
You know what? Let's just say that he was.
She's just going to spin it in that positive light.
Yeah,
That's what
I
she's
am.
gonna do.
Yeah, it was a
Deal
sight
with
gag. But the movie though, it's based on it's based on, is it a book or is it just an old folk tale or
I think it's a folk tale.
folk
Yeah.
tale? And
He's like some mythic figure almost that people tell stories about, but then it turns out that he's a real person, so we
Right.
think.
yeah, it's a folk tale about a person who thought that he had a mental or physical disorder that he didn't have. No, that's the syndrome.
Yeah.
That's the syndrome again. Sorry.
Well, no, the syndrome is that you make up symptoms to get attention.
Right. Yeah.
Well, and that's exactly what he does. Is he and we were talking about this off microphone, and I know that this movie far predates Pirates of the Caribbean, but I get a very strong Captain Jack Sparrow vibe from Baron Munchausen
I can see that.
because he's very much like, okay, let's play this by ear, and it's a little Ferris Bueller at the same time because there are all these moving parts and. He's constantly putting himself in a situation where he almost bites off more than he can chew, but somehow things just swing in his favor.
Well, he almost seems like if there was a superhero or an alien or a time lord who got really old and wasn't as good at it as he used to be.
Like a little bit of his
He
magic
reversed
is worn off.
Benjamin Buttons in this movie.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's one of the interesting things is the characters, they bounce in age depending on the circumstances.
It's like the more attention he gets, the younger he
Yeah.
becomes.
He's like Tinkerbell. You have to believe in him for him to have his powers.
Well, because the youngest he gets is when he's dancing with Uma Thurman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Big surprise.
I was about to say, is anyone shocked by
He looks
that?
pretty good, though.
Yeah. Uma Thurman, who spent most of the movie trying not to get what's a word that won't get me sued? Accosted. No, that's kind of a legally word. Vulcan, the guy who played Vulcan, apparently spent most of the movie trying to get in her
Pants.
pantaloons.
They're married.
What?
They're married.
In the movie, they're married.
In
Yeah.
the movie, they're married.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
in the movie,
real life,
they're
she was
married.
married to Ethan
I was
Hawke.
like, wait,
Yeah.
what?
No.
No, in the movie.
Well, yeah, but off screen, I think is what Jason's insinuating
wow.
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Is that's why he was trying not to bring up anything too legally related because we're not 100% sure if that's true.
Well, and interesting thing about Uma Thurman too is that this was her first movie, but it wasn't the first
time she appeared, yeah.
because the movie took so long to make that she actually was in another movie that was released before this movie came out.
That's correct.
My God. See, and there's what we were talking about
Oh,
before.
God,
That
yeah.
ass.
Somehow I missed that, and I'm upset with both of you for bringing
Yeah.
it up.
That ass.
That ass.
and somebody said we need to get some real big platform shoes for her. That's
Yes.
what's going to make it.
This
They're
is-
pretty cool looking.
Yeah,
I'd
that's-
wear 'em.
that's
And
gonna
this
make it.
predates Spice Girls.
Yeah.
So, I mean, those were some innovative platforms right
It's
there.
like the Spice
Chubby
Girls and a
Spice.
geisha shoe mated with each other.
Yeah,
If they had fish
yeah,
in them, they'd be terrific for pimps. I mean,
Yeah, poor fish.
but...
It's got to be horrible for the fish.
Well, yeah, because they run out of oxygen eventually. And
I
there's
just
no way to
imagine
feed them, as far as I
constantly
know.
being stomped. I mean,
The reverberations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, this first adventure, Baron
Which isn't even really an adventure.
Well, it's a fable that is
Yeah.
a part of his whole backstory.
it's an exploit.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Of how
Yeah.
he stole the Sultan's treasure vault, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't really lead anywhere. Like it's.
But that's how the play was starting off, was telling the Sultan's tale, and then he comes in
Yeah.
saying, no, wrong.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah. Well, and did you notice, by the way, as Bob's Burgers fans, did you notice the name of Baron Munchausen's horse?
Yes.
Bucephala.
Yes, it's Bucephala.
Yeah. That did make me laugh. I wrote that one down.
The horse of Alexander the Great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also Tina.
No,
not Tina.
That was the
Bob
guy in the
Bobcephala.
Bobcephala, yeah. The costume that Linda made for him. But yeah, I did really appreciate how witty the little opera is that the
The Torturer's Apprentice.
the Torturer's Apprentice.
The Torturer's
Well, that like the song about the eunuch who was
I
quote.
can't even watch it.
Yeah, I especially love all the phallic-shaped hats the men are wearing.
Oh, absolutely. But
This shot right here. This is why
it cost
I
$45
don't
million.
like. Well, no, this is Terry Gilliam making me slightly angry. I just want to yell out, "We get it. He's going fast and going through the floor. Would you please just go
Fair
ahead
enough.
and get on with it?"
Yeah, well, it would have been fine if you had cut to his feet once and you see that he's winding up. Dwight, winding up doesn't really work, right? But if you see him winding up once, okay, cool. But you cut to it like 5 times. And
Yeah.
it's like, all right, he's the human roadrunner. We understand.
Yeah, and I think that's one of my beefs with the movie is the pacing.
Well, and it beats you over the head with a brick with its own sense of humor. And
But that's kind of for the time back then. The pacings of movies in the 80s were all kind of like this.
Well, I think like the Robin Williams scene, I think one of the reasons why it didn't work for me was it's like it starts and it's Robin Williams. Oh, he's doing sort of Popeye and Mork, but Italian.
yeah.
And then it just goes on forever.
Well, and there's almost a social commentary to that scene with the King of the Moon where funny how a man can be more quiet and civilized when he's not distracted by his bodily impulses.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting
Yeah,
too because you don't ever really get a solid answer if the moon is crazy, if the King of the Moon is crazy or not.
Yeah, because he's perfectly fine. Well, not really. He's a little more calm at least when he's just his head.
Well, yeah, but I
Yeah.
mean the whole thing where he's talking about like I'm one with the universe and I govern all these things and I'm this, this,
I'm omnipotent.
Yeah, and then the Baron says, he has delusions of grandeur, but it's actually not clear. He's a floating head on the moon.
Well, and that's the blind leading the blind because you get the Baron showing up with Sally, and he's like, "Oh yes, I'm one of the King of the Moon's most trusted favorite people, and we should get a lot of pomp and circumstance when we show up." And they do. They get like almost like a tiny little parade when they show up on the moon. But then you find out that the Baron has been messing around with the King of the Moon's woman.
Very
So-
Doctor Who.
Yeah.
It's
Which he does. He's a ladies' man for sure.
Yeah.
So when the Baron says something like, "Oh, he suffers from delusions of grandeur," I mean, but consider the source. They're both weird.
yeah.
So
Well, go ahead.
I was going to say, he's about to be potentially executed. And I always thought this gentleman measuring his neck, he creeped me out because he has this feather inserted in his skin. And every time he took it out, it always creeped me out as a kid.
Well, that Terry Gilliam, he has little touches that they're little disturbing touches that he puts in his movies.
Like Guillermo del Toro almost.
Yeah. I think there's some crossover between those two.
Mm-hmm.
there has to be. No, there is this funny bit here where he is singing that. What did you call the opera, Meg?
Oh, The Torturer's Apprentice?
Yes, the song is great about the eunuch who was, quote, cut off in his prime.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
With the falsetto voice.
Yes. That
Cut
was,
off in his prime.
Life is hard, but that's all.
oh my God. And, it's about your typical everyday torture chamber, is I believe what the Sultan said.
Yeah.
While he's hitting the organ keys that are actually hitting slaves.
and
making
that is
noises.
that couldn't be more Terry Gilliam,
God.
And I think that's the thing when you go into a movie like this, you have to say, okay, all the rules are out the window. This movie's
Just
gonna
like that horse.
Yeah,
Who just jumped about 100 feet down.
He's got a whole crew of special people, though.
He really does. He's got like his little crew of
That
X-Men.
guy's
He's got
voice.
Hawkeye, he's got the Hulk, and he's got...
Hawkeye's voice
And-
when he is old creeps me
Oh,
out.
God.
Oh, yeah.
That irritated the hell out of me.
I hate it. I absolutely hate it. He's got Big Titus. He's got
Big Titus. That's because of cheese, Kimmy. But yeah, they all have very specific gifts. One of them's a fast runner. The other one is a very precise shot. The other one's the strong man. And the other one can blow like gale force winds.
And he can hear really well.
Yeah, that's funny. because they talk about him as the guy who can blow gale force winds, which is cool, but he also has super
not to be confused
hearing.
with the board game.
Yeah, he can hear where. What is his
Eric
name in the
Idle.
movie? No, I was trying to remember his name in the movie.
Bronconius. No.
You
You've
brony.
upset the gale force winds. But yeah, this whole wager with him, and I thought that was a little funny when the Baron comes down and his people he's like, I'm about to be beheaded in 3 minutes because I don't have this bottle of wine for the Sultan. And they're like, well, that's not funny at all. He goes, it's not a joke. It's a wager. And then they all hop to
a
and
wager.
Then they start taking it seriously.
Yeah, so
Presumably, he gets death threats a lot.
Yeah. This well, again,
can only
it's the Time Lord thing. This is not a new situation for him or his friends who hang out with him. They're used to this sort of thing happening, and they're probably fairly.
Oh, that guy's eyes are sewn shut.
See, that didn't creep me out
yeah,
as much as the feather through the forehead scalp.
God, that bugs me.
Yeah, that's Terry Gilliam, and
Meanwhile,
here
the
we
Sultan,
go. Yeah,
the Sultan's wearing an onion-looking hat.
He's the Sultan, duh.
And
Yeah,
the,
but
and
I've
the
never-
bit with the axe is so funny. They bring it back in the end of the movie.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Well, it wouldn't be a good execution without smacking
Get
you
out.
over the head
Get
with
out.
it.
Just get out.
I'll see myself out.
The show's canceled.
Bye,
It's over.
listeners. It was fun while it lasted.
But his faithful servant makes it just in time for him to not get executed.
But let's talk about the differences watching it as a kid versus watching it now. Now,
Oh, God.
As somebody who saw it a lot as a kid, now when you watch it, you're sitting here in the studio watching it.
Oh, I can't believe I was allowed to watch this.
But what
I
is it?
can't believe I was allowed to watch it now.
I mean, it's
That's
a pretty
right.
dark movie.
It's a very dark movie. People are dying everywhere.
yeah, war-torn, nondescript European
you know,
city.
The one thing that did probably scare me as a kid was the Angel of Death. That was probably the scariest bit.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
the
can
Angel
see
of
it.
Death is pretty creepy. Pretty easy to put off, though. I got to admit. I mean, if I lived in this universe, I wouldn't be that scared of
Yeah,
dying.
He might surprise you every once in a while, but you can shove him really
Yeah,
hard.
you
and
can
then
just
he sets
yeah,
on-
you
then
can
he
just
sets on
push
fire.
him. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can set him on fire like
He's
just
quite incendiary.
Yeah,
But he
he's-
just keeps coming back.
yeah. Well,
Well,
yeah.
death is relentless.
Yeah.
And that's what they're getting at. Oh.
And so he wins his wager. Baron Munchausen makes a wager. And what is the Baron's full name? Is Hieronymus?
I don't actually know.
I was hoping somebody had it written down.
Normally, your nerdy Darth would
yeah.
have it written down.
I know
but
his
no.
first name is Hieronymus, which is a cool name. If I was ever an R&B star, that would be my name.
Why? Because Titus Andromedon is already taken?
No.
Oh, okay.
I just like it. So the Baron has a wager with the Sultan, the Turk, who loses the wager, and as a result, he says to Baron Munchausen, "You can go to my treasury and take away as much as the strongest man may carry." Now, bearing in
So-
mind that I've just seen you have one friend who can run faster than anyone else in the world.
Maybe you might have a strongman that could take all of this from
Yeah.
me. And so they pile up the strongman like Max in the Grinch,
Yeah.
like with all the
Yeah.
sled and the presents on
Just
top
cleans
of them.
the Sultan out.
Yeah,
Yep.
and the poor guy who's in charge of the treasury, he's doing his job, he's following his instructions, and what's his reward?
He loses his head.
Yeah,
Yep.
but he winks at a fat chick.
That
I
was
mean,
pretty funny.
Yeah.
A tombstone moment right there.
Yeah,
I love the comically large key to open
I
up
know.
the vault.
And he just carries it around with him.
Keys are
He's
they're-
the key master.
Well, there are a couple of bits with keys because when you do move on to the King of the Moon and all that stuff, the King of the Moon and his queen are both giant in comparison to Baron Munchausen and the rest of
Yes.
the crew, and they have to hold keys in their mouths because their bodies stay mostly separate from their heads.
Yeah, we should go ahead and discuss the moon section because, well, I guess the next big sequence in the movie is the airship.
Right. So after the Baron is done telling the audience about this one exploit,
And why the Turks are mad at him in the first
yeah,
place.
that's why the Turks are outside their door, trying to tear down the city is to get to him. So he thinks that he needs to assemble his crew again, and he'll take it on. And
Yeah, he said, I started this fight. I'm the one who can finish it. So
right, so
Baron Munchausen, last blood.
they build an airship out of all the women's bloomers.
Yeah, they got a lot of underwear. They got a lot.
It was cold.
a lot of underwear.
Yeah, so they blow up this airship made out of ladies' underwear, and he flies off to the moon because you can just do that in
Yes.
an airship made of underwear.
Yes.
isn't that what President Kennedy said? That we would get to the moon by whatever means possible?
And Baron Munchausen found a way.
I'm,
did.
I'm gonna let y'all just.
You're just
But-
jealous.
So, yeah.
You put the rope out there.
The little girl whose father is the
Sally, yeah.
main acting, or he owns
Mis-
the main
Mis-
acting
Mr.
company.
Yes, Mr.
She
Salt.
stows away on the ship, to make sure she doesn't believe him. She wants to make sure this is true and wants to help.
Does she mean to stow away? Because she gets
Yeah.
like stuck on the anchor.
Oh, she falls off after he's
Oh,
trying
okay,
to
yeah,
lift
that's
up
right, that's
further.
right, that's
So she
right.
stows away in the ship, and then he's trying to lighten the load on the ship, throwing over things, and he accidentally throws her out.
Well, and Baron Munchausen and Sally develop a rapport pretty early in the movie because when the theater is being blown apart by mortar and shrapnel and all this craziness that's going on outside, Sally,
Bartold! That's his name.
Bartold.
the fast runner, but Sally actually finds the Baron. He's been knocked over by some debris or something, and she's like, "Are you really Baron Munchausen?" And she kind of buys into his act, and so that's where he gets his first bit of energy. Because at first he's like, "Just let me die. I don't belong in this logical world anymore." Because it is the age of reason. And he's like, "There's too much science and math that explains away all the magic in the world." I'm badly paraphrasing, but he basically said that the world is getting too small for him.
Right, yeah, and the acting company is actually being shut down by the governor. in
By
this
Governor
bit.
Swan from Pirates of the Caribbean.
He's so young in
Jonathan
this.
Price, yes.
But yeah, basically because of the whole age of reasoning. And he even executes a soldier for bravery because it
Yes,
was
yeah.
demoralizing the rest of the soldiers.
That was hilarious. He was like, "So, are you the soldier we've been hearing all this about, like going above and beyond the pale and achieving this and accomplishing that?" And he was like, "Yes, sir, that's me." He was like, "Cool, execute him immediately."
Yeah, that's a very Gilliam thing, sort of pointing out the absurdity of the established bureaucracy. I mean, that's what all of Brazil was about.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've not seen it.
He can't decide if he wants to watch it tonight or not.
Yeah, I kind of want to watch Brazil now, but then I think I have other things that I could be doing also. And that's sort of where I land on a
You're
lot
like
of...
the Schrodinger's cat.
Yeah.
You're like, this could or couldn't be.
Yeah,
Like,
honestly, it really does depend. It's if I was in a really bad mood and I watched this movie, I'd probably hate it.
Well, and if you do watch Brazil, one thing I read about this movie was that apparently The Adventures of Baron Munchausen is seen as the kind of final part of an unofficial trilogy of films from Terry Gilliam, and the other two are evidently Time Bandits and Brazil.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which-
I've never heard that, and I saw that today. I've never in my mind linked Brazil, Time Bandits, and Baron Munchausen together in any way, and
Well, apparently the trilogy, it represents different stages of life. So the three films represent man in his youth, in middle age, and elderly.
Yeah.
So it's middle-aged man.
Well, and
but which one is which?
and it really that makes sense because I mean Brazil is all about a middle-aged, grown-up guy who just has a miserable existence, and he's rebelling against his existence, and he's trying to get freedom in his own life. And then in this one we have the old man whose powers are fading, and he just
Right.
wants that one. It's either he wants to die or he wants to be his old self. Those are the
Right.
only two options.
Right.
Yeah, this listless stage in between is just not where he belongs because he's always been so epic at the very
Right,
least in
yeah.
his own mind.
And is taking a little page from Cyrano de Bergerac with that nose. I mean,
Oh,
look at that thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that while I watched this movie. I was just like, oh, that nose.
I know, and you can see where the real nose is. That's what distracts me.
Well, and apparently the nose was a bit of an issue for John Neville.
Yeah.
John Neville, when he had the nose on, it was difficult for him to read and kind of see because it was an impediment for him. So,
Oh, can you imagine having that thing? It's just constantly there.
well, because
It
your
would-
eyes are so used to your nose, because a lot of people don't realize that your eyes can see your nose at all times, but your brain has trained your eyes to ignore it. Essentially, that's why you have to make an effort to look down and be like, "Oh, there's my nose." But with a nose like that, I mean, I don't know if your brain has that kind of capability to ignore
Yeah.
something of that magnitude. It has its own
But
zip code.
It's almost his signature.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it suits him because he's a super eccentric guy, and
Well, yeah, John Neville, somehow that nose and that hair and that facial hair, and he pulls it off.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
it works
It totally
for him.
works.
Seriously, when
gets to kiss Uma
when
Thurman.
he
Yeah.
like youths up, I'm like, all right, you're attractive. I'm into it.
I mean, he's probably one of the only people on Earth who can pull that look off. You know, I think the clothes help.
well, yeah, the eccentricity has to help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's what did Katie say on her first episode? When you're poor and you're weird, you're just weird.
Yeah.
But when you're rich and you're weird, you're eccentric.
Yeah, you're Elon Musk.
Yeah. But yeah, he does eccentric very, very well. And he's got plenty of riches, as we saw from the Turk. So,
Yeah. Well,
Well, he
but
probably spent it all on women. Well, he doesn't
well,
need
no,
to.
No,
the
but
strong man stole
the strong
it, didn't he?
the strong man took it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because
that's
he
right.
says, like, I don't have it, I spent it. I mean, I give it to charity.
That's
I
right.
gave it to charity.
Charity's a stripper. No, you didn't say that.
But there is a great line here where Sally first connects with the Baron because he, what does he tell her? Because they meet up and she wants to hear the rest of his story. And he goes, go away, I'm trying to die. And later they get up and she starts to run away from him when some more debris falls down from the ceiling. And he's like, no, where are you going? Come back. She goes, I thought you wanted to die. He goes, yes, but I'm old enough. So
Yeah.
that was cute.
Yeah, and he does. I kind of like the whole thing with the girl just going out to tell everybody, stop it.
Yeah,
You
she
know?
goes to the edge of the wall and starts throwing rocks at the
Yeah.
Turkish army.
Yeah, she's just had enough and she's not going to take it anymore.
Their
We're not
relationship kind of
gonna
reminds
take
me of the old man and the little Boy Scout from Up.
Yeah.
How he's just like old and crotchety,
Yeah.
and then he
I've never
eventually
seen
like, loves
Up.
to love. Oh my god!
Can I please come in? No.
No.
Well, and it's sort of like Connor McLeod and the young Rachel.
Oh,
Except that it's not in any way
well,
at all. But that
not,
does
not even a little bit.
But that does bring up Highlander.
It does, which
There can only be one.
Which leads me to the connection. There is an actual connection to Highlander because when I first started watching this movie, listeners, if you don't know this, Meg and I actually work together. So I walked into her office today, and I was like, you know what I thought when I was first watching this movie is that the music sounds an awful lot like Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. So I looked to see who did the scores, and you believe it, it is Michael Kamen.
Yep.
Who not only did Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, he did X-Men and
Oh,
Highlander.
yeah, he did a lot,
And
yeah.
Die Hard, Jason,
yeah.
your favorite Christmas movie of
Yeah.
all time.
Well, because
so.
it's the best Christmas movie.
Exactly.
Well, there's another Highlander connection to this movie. They
dear.
actually, Christopher Lambert, who was Connor
French.
McLeod, who's from
Not really.
lots of different places. He actually filmed scenes that were supposed to be in the movie, but they were all cut. So Christopher Lambert was actually
Wah,
supposed to
wah.
be in the movie. Yeah, I know. Yeah, you can only kill a Highlander if you cut his scenes.
Well,
Thank you.
he'll be here all week. Tip your
Yes.
waitress. But yeah, this is where Sally first sees that the Baron, whoa, he might not be full of it because she goes to yell at the Turks, like you said, to tell them to stop blowing up her city.
Death is
And-
kind of stupid.
What do you
Well,
mean?
he's just ever present and always coming. I think it's
Yeah,
that's what it's the old man thing. Is that death is always
Yeah.
coming for you, basically.
Death literally looks over and goes, "Hey, you!"
Well, the Baron
Takes a swipe at him.
Well, didn't you reap them, Grim Reaper, with your grim reaping equipment? I tried that, but the women all know hopscotch, and they leapt over it. Oh yeah, we got another Eddie Izzard fan in the
Yeah.
studio today too, guys. So get excited.
And he's on wires. Better wire job than Highlander.
It looked
Oh God,
Much better wire job than
Seriously
Highlander.
though, no. But this is where Sally kind of sees that there's a little bit of credence to what the Baron has been saying, that he is the real Baron Munchausen, and
He basically rode 2 cannonballs in the air.
Yeah.
No. He calls her a liar for that because she then goes and brags on him and confirms that he wasn't lying to the whole acting troupe. And he calls her out. He goes, "No, you're lying. It wasn't a cannon the first time. It wasn't a cannonball. It was some mortar. Like, it was just some shrapnel I was hanging on to. Whatever." But then on the way back, it was a cannonball.
Yes.
Is what he says.
Yes.
He corrects her on it. Because she's like, he flew miles and miles. And he's like, it was more like a mile and a half.
Oh, no, I remember that, but I just watching him put it in the actual cannon, it looks like a cannonball.
No, it does. But when he does argue with her later, he's...
Oh, no, I remember that.
Yeah, he
Fierce
argues
debate. What is the answer? Cannonball or not? That's
mean,
why
it-
people. That's
I'm
why
pretty sure
people.
it
That's
looks
why
like
people
one.
tune into the show to hear answers like this.
and listen to us describing me dialing back the air conditioning.
Yes,
That's-
yes.
we're
that's
live in
another-
the studio
yes,
discussing
live, changing
boring
the
stuff.
temperature in our studio. So the it's weird because I'm actually there's so much in this movie and it's so Terry Gilliam, but I'm trying not to just keep bringing up Terry Gilliam. But it's
it
hard.
smacks of
it's
Terry
it's
Gilliam.
very hard. It's clearly the biggest budget thing that Terry Gilliam ever did.
To be honest, I kind of
Yeah.
expect the Muppets to show up at any second in this movie. I'm not sure why.
Well, I mean, if anything, they probably showed up on the moon.
Yeah, yeah.
That would have been cool.
See, and this movie even makes me wonder if my universal rule of movies is universal.
I'm not
'Cause
sure
I
how
don't-
effective he would be.
I don't know because, Meg, if you don't know, I have a rule that applies to every movie ever made in history, which is that no movie could not be improved by the addition of Batman. Pick a movie; it's better with Batman.
Like on
Legends
Adam
of the
Darby's
Fall,
episode, we were
better
talking
with
about
Batman.
It.
Big Trouble in Little China.
Better with Batman,
How?
definitely, because they would do shit together. It'd be like
But they got
Kurt
it.
Russell.
They didn't need him, man. They got it done without
No, but they
him.
don't. No, it's not that they would need him. It's just it would be a better movie. Kurt Russell and Batman.
He's too serious. The movie was supposed to be funny.
Wizard of Oz.
Oh, are you kidding me? Flying monkeys versus
That which
Batman.
would have been taken out page one.
Flying monkeys.
Oh God.
Swear to me.
I'm not wearing a witch costume. But yeah, so you kind of lose Sally there for a second because Baron Munchausen calls her a liar. She gets upset after. Did she punch him in the junk? Like, is that what she did to him?
She kicked him in the leg.
Oh, is that what it was? But he calls her a liar, and so she hits him and runs off upset because she.
That's the analysis people tune into here.
Junk or leg.
Either way.
We answer the questions tonight. And one thing that I was sort of thinking when I rewatched it is I didn't expect Uma Thurman's role to be as big as I remembered it.
It is interesting that the actors in this company all look like his former
Right.
members of
Catherine the
his
Great.
team
Yeah.
and people that he's met, but they all claim that they've never met him, and
Right.
you never know if it's real or not.
That
Well, it is
I
very
think that's
Wizard of Oz in that sense because
Yeah.
the characters exist in the real and the fantasy world.
Oh yeah, fair.
I think
So-
that's a genuinely clever way of doing this story is having him telling the story with all the characters right there, but they're not the characters. And then he tells the story with the characters, but now they're the characters.
Well, it's a way
Right.
of getting
Yeah.
them to believe in the magic of it too. Is that if they
Yeah.
can picture themselves there, maybe they'll start to believe that it actually happened.
Right.
Plus, you cut down on costs if you just use the
Yeah,
same
you don't
actors
pay
and
anyone.
say they're different.
Yeah. Yeah. For budgetary reasons, we're doing this. Not creative at all.
Not even a little.
yeah.
But the strong man, Meg, do you know his name? What's the strong man's name? Regardless, do you know who he reminds me of? Think another Robin Williams movie, the strong man in the clothes that he's in.
He was also strong.
No.
The clothes that he was in.
The clothes that the strong man is in is like this
Right.
big, like burlappy red thing. And
Dead Poet Society.
no. Oh, but
I hate
no,
that
it makes
movie.
me think of Hook because of the little boy who
Oh,
was the
yeah,
cannonball
yeah.
who would roll.
Oh.
And I was just like, wow, that's funny how that.
Hook is a messed up movie.
Oh, such a good movie.
It's good, but it's a little messed up.
It's a little weird.
Yeah,
but
it's got some it's out there. It is a good movie. I mean, Dustin Hoffman.
It makes me sad, but
Yeah,
it's
it
still
does.
such a good movie.
Bad
You know,
form.
I speaking of movies, and this is completely off topic, which has never occurred on this program.
That's never
before.
happened in the history of the ever on this show.
So you know how my family is big Disney fans, and we realized that there was a Disney movie we had never ever seen before. None of us had ever seen The Emperor's New Groove.
Oh my God.
And for years and years, all I've heard was that it was a huge failure, which it was. It was financially speaking.
Yeah, it didn't do too well,
but cult
surprisingly. But
classic.
it's so fantastic.
We watched it last night, and I have to say, I absolutely loved that movie.
Oh, it's
it was
so good.
absolutely fantastic.
David Spade was like perfect.
Eartha
for
Kitt.
Mama.
Eartha Kitt was
amazing.
incredible.
And Kronk, I can never remember the actor's name, but he's also
Patrick
Joe.
Patrick
on,
Warburton.
Thank you.
Dane.
No, that's
Come
okay.
on.
Now that answers a question for me, Jason, because on our Death Race episode, I made a joke about Kronk being up against the wall, like David Carradine going,
Okay. And
I
none
didn't
of us
expect
laughed
Adam to
at
get
it.
it, but you didn't laugh. And you're such a Disney person. And I was like, what the hell? That was
That's
gold.
why. That's why. Yeah. No, in fact, I found out in that movie, in that part when he was humming his own theme music, Disney made him sign the rights over to that song. He made it up. He made it up on the spot, and Disney made him sign something giving
Oh
them
my
the rights
God.
to
I
the
love
theme
Disney.
song.
I love him even more now. My God.
Well, okay, so if you...
I sing that song a lot. Do I owe anything to Disney?
Oh, yeah. You got a royalty payment coming.
Oh, goodness.
Did either of you see the sequel?
No.
Oh.
Kronk's New Groove?
Yeah,
that
Kronk's New Groove.
I knew that there was a TV show, but I
Yeah.
don't think I ever saw the Kronk one.
Okay, because like all Disney sequels, it's probably terrible. Frozen 2, I'm looking in
My
your direction.
acorn is
And
missing.
it's
Yeah.
better left
Yeah.
alone.
Yeah, Frozen 2.
Yeah, we don't
Looking
need to
at
go back
you.
to the days of
Yeah.
Michael
Eisner.
Eisner. No,
Yeah.
just no.
Yeah, the man who gave us Treasure Planet.
If you're coming to Disney, bring money.
Yeah,
Treasure
remember
Planet.
Treasure Planet?
Yes.
Yeah.
I never saw it.
Yeah, of course you did.
Just,
Nobody
just
did.
leave it at
Yeah.
Muppets Treasure Island, okay?
Here's the thing about Treasure Planet. Just 2 weeks ago, Walt Disney announced they're making a live-action Treasure Planet.
Oh.
Well, I mean,
mean-
they can't ruin it.
They're making live action everything now. That's just the trendy freaking thing to do.
they're
and I'm
running
so
out of shit to
over it
do.
already.
Yeah.
No,
That's why they're making a bazillion Marvel movies, because that universe is massive. They
Yeah.
could ride
Yeah.
that gravy train for years.
Well,
Yeah.
but the material's already there. It's not like they're just tossing these things together.
I'm waiting for-
The
willy-nilly.
material's already there for a live action. The movie
Yeah.
was already made. They're just making it with real people.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. Speaking of which,
I'm ready.
Do you guys see the announcement of who's playing Ursula in the live action
No.
Little Mermaid?
Eartha Kitt. No, she's dead.
I would love that, but
That would be
she's
so much
she's
better.
so bony and frail. Like
That's
she
true.
could- Queen Latifah.
Oh, that's right. I remember seeing that. Because
Yeah.
everyone was in a hizzy fit on who was playing Ariel, and then I looked up the rest of the cast.
Well, Lindsay Lohan was trying to sort of promote herself to be the live action Little Mermaid. And Mateo Lane made a fantastic joke. He's this comedian. He was like, "Oh, I didn't know mermaids could smoke underwater."
Well, it's sort of like saying, hey, you know all those stories about movies being in production hell? Let's go ahead and hire Lindsay Lohan and get all those great stories, and people
Yeah.
will talk about this movie forever.
Oh God.
the publicity would be real.
Yeah, she's too messed up to be in a Disney movie. But yeah, so Queen Latifah. But so getting back to Baron Munchausen. Oh, and you said Muppet Treasure Island, and I figured out why I expect the Muppets to show up in this movie. Because Baron Munchausen is in the Tim Curry outfit from Muppet Treasure Island. That's why I was like, what is it that keeps clicking in my head that makes me think that the Muppets are going to show up? That's why.
It does have sort of a Muppets feel to it.
It really
yeah,
does.
it really
Yeah.
does. Boy, that'd be a good movie.
I think it's probably all the props, the way that they're designed.
Yeah, that looks like a ship that Kermit would be,
Absolutely.
It does.
driving. Yeah.
Well, especially in the beginning where you see the waves, the fake waves in the theater, and like the big fake fish that swallows them, and just I don't know. But yeah, he's dressed just like Tim Curry, not from It, mind you, from Muppet Treasure Island.
No, not from it.
Big difference.
So the God, this is a long movie.
Yeah,
it's
I
2
forgot how
freaking
long it
hours
is.
long.
Yeah,
Ugh.
because literally the scene we were talking about, I think an hour and a half ago, about
Something
the
like
airship, when we said, what's the next thing that happens? Oh, it's the airship. That's just happening.
40 minutes later. But yeah, first of all, you have to collect the or the undergarments of all the ladies so that you can...
your knickers.
There is a good bit though where he's smoozing all the ladies in the acting troupe, and He's like, you look like Catherine the Great, who I had the pleasure of turning down with a proposal or whatever. She proposed to him and he turned her down.
That's what he says to Venus too, right?
He said that's
Yeah.
like his pickup line, apparently. But with the women, the guys in the acting troupe were like, they all remind you of Catherine the Great. He goes, yeah,
And-
bits here and bits there.
Some ways or another.
Yeah.
But because later, when he does say that to Uma Thurman on her own when she's Venus coming out of the shell, he goes, oh, you remind me of Catherine the Great. And what's his name? Bertold. How do you say it?
Bertold.
Bertold. He's like, oh, God, here we go in the background because that's just Baron's pickup line when he sees
Yeah,
an
and I mean,
attractive
and
lady.
Venus just falls for him.
Which is weird, because why would a goddess be like impressed? Oh, I look like a human.
I think
Sweet.
I
He's
think her
just
volcano
so
husband
damn
Charming.
charming.
Yes.
It's
Well,
that twinkle they give on his tooth when he smiles.
Yeah.
And I think her husband keeps her kind of under lock and key from what I can tell. And it seems like kind of a game for their relationship
Which-
dynamic.
Is weird, because I'm going to wax some knowledge on this. Aphrodite is actually married to Hephaestus, the god of the forge. So I don't know where they
In
get this
case
Vulcan name from.
In case you guys don't
Is
remember,
Vulcan
Meg,
the Roman version?
Yes.
Meg
but
is
did they
our
call her
resident-
Venus? I thought they called her Aphrodite. I can't. Oh, it's been a minute.
No,
typing.
so
The,
she's
no, the
definitely Venus.
Romans called her Venus. The
Yeah.
Greeks
right.
called her Aphrodite.
But in this
Yeah.
movie,
Yeah.
did they call her Venus or did they
No,
call her
she's Venus in the
Aphrodite?
movie.
She's
Oh, okay, well
yeah.
then that's fair.
yeah.
I thought they called her
maybe.
Aphrodite.
But I don't know if Vulcan is he's the god of. I mean, he's
the god of diamonds.
The god
and
of-
I don't.
volcanoes.
I don't know Roman names as well as I do Greek. So
I mean, he's the only god who got a whole discipline of science named after him, though.
This is
Yeah, volcanology.
and a death grip.
The study of Vulcans. Yes.
Come on.
And big exploding mountains.
Yes.
Whatever those are called.
volcanoes.
Those, yeah.
This is the boom boom.
Weird that they live in one.
Yeah, yeah.
No, but her husband kind of keeps her under lock and key. The one that was apparently Pepe Le Pewing her in real life
Yeah.
that she didn't want anything to do with.
But he gives her sweet diamonds every day. Like
Apparently,
on the
those
hour.
aren't
Yeah.
that big of a deal in that economy.
Yeah, I was about to
She
say,
just
yeah,
chucks
in the-
them
yeah.
Another
outside.
diamond.
Yeah, what is she going to
side.
do with the diamond? Sell it on eBay? I mean,
Yeah.
I'll take it to De Beers and yeah, and but to be fair, Vulcan does have a lot of stress. He's got a lot of labor disputes,
A lot of
Yeah,
cyclopses.
he's basically running the factory.
Yeah,
as
he's
the foreman.
management,
Well, he relabeled them as cyclopses to get around that last legal dispute because they were
Yeah.
actually losing eyes during production.
Yeah.
So that.
And he makes a nuclear missile,
Yep.
Oh,
yeah.
that's right.
Social
I loved all the way he
commentary.
The way
We
that he
sneak it in.
pronounced everything was just funny.
Yeah.
Well, he kind of reminds me of Nick Offerman a little bit with how gruff and his beard. I don't know. He's just got a little bit of a Nick Offerman look in this movie, minus the red body paint. But
Ooh, but they finally made it to the moon.
yes,
Yes.
one eternity later. But no, and this part reminds me of Pirates of the Caribbean 3 at World's End
Oh,
because
yeah.
like how they reach the end of the world and how the world turns upside down and
That
that's
movie
how they
is just a giant flat earther conspiracy.
Oh my god. Shit.
it promotes the flat earth theory. But anyway, I know once again Pirates came so much further along after this, but it has that same sort of quality to it where there's a mysticism to. I know they were trying to get to Davy Jones' locker in Pirates of the Caribbean. In this case, they're trying to get to the moon, but they fall out of the sky and then land on the moon.
Yes.
And it's all magic.
Yes.
Yeah, there's what do they say in
and-
Highlander?
It's a kind of
It's a
magic.
kind of magic. Yeah.
But this is the first scene where you see him start becoming more youthful because of the
He
sense of
gets
adventure.
euthanized.
Yeah.
Reverse Benjamin Button.
Euthanizing. Yeah. That's not what moon sand looks like. I mean, it's far too coarse.
Are they by the Sea of Tranquility? You see it is, and they're
Now,
missing this huge guy.
this scene has some proper Terry Gilliam art in it because the entire city
Yes.
is just a giant Terry Gilliam.
Yeah.
I don't know what you would even call it. Construct.
Teenyverse.
Yeah, it's almost like they made all these props for a theater stage that they're just running by each other, and you hear all this applause, but it's just buildings. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
the cardboard
Well, and
buildings are
it's-
the
well,
inhabitants of the moon.
See, I don't know if you noticed that, but it's interesting. This is all clockwork, and the crowd is clockwork. And the
Yeah.
only reason I know that is because
Welcome
if you
to do lots
have the
such a
closed
perfect
captioning
town.
on, you hear it has the description gears winding up.
You kind of hear the gears too as they're
Yeah, but it's very explicit that it's
And
like,
the
this is just a
Oh,
clockwork
yeah.
thing that somebody's turning up and then letting it run.
And the
There's no one
movie-
else on the moon but these two guys.
And there's such creepy music playing in the little parade as they go through the clockwork town.
Yeah.
But
But it turns out it was a trap all along because somehow the King of the Moon knew that Baron was going to come up there. Eventually.
it's not a trap because
It
at
is.
first...
Yeah.
It's a trap.
Yeah, he traps him.
Boom.
Oh.
Trap.
Okay, now see, this just shows how...
I've got you at last.
how little I paid attention to this movie while I watched it. But yeah, there's Robin Williams with I think there's it's that 90s toy that he looks like Saturn.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. That's exactly what I was thinking.
I know you were.
What was that called? You
Do you remember
bounced on it.
Yeah, the proper name for it. It looked like the planet Saturn. There was a
Oh,
kickball in the middle of it.
yeah.
But what was the name of the toy? We discussed it on Adam
it's a moon
Darby's
bounce.
episode. Is it a moon bounce? I know there were moon shoes.
There are moon shoes, but I'm pretty sure it's called Moon Bounce.
Okay, it might have been, but either way.
I gotta use the restroom and I gotta call somebody real quick. You guys just
Yeah.
carry on.
Sure.
No, we're going to sit here in awkward silence for
Yeah,
a
let's
period
let-
of time.
Let's let him open and close the door. Okay, so yeah, I can never remember the actual proper name for that toy. I remember the Skip It and the Moon Shoes, but whatever. But Robin Williams looks like that 90s toy that you used to balance on. And he's got... What's going on with his hair? Is it a column? It looks
So
like-
they remind me of the scrolls on like violins and cellos at the
Oh,
top, which
yeah?
which makes sense when you see his wife, because his wife has the scroll that a violin would have, and then she has strings coming down.
See, as a musician, you know that. I
do.
That never would have occurred to me ever. So that's cool. And I don't know what it is about the little girl. Sally looks like somebody I've just got it in the back of my head. It'll come to me eventually. But she looks like a character from another movie that I've seen. Just the specific look that they've given her with the ratty little clothing. And
She reminds me of
you and I share a brain. Come on.
like Nicole Richie when she was a kid.
No. It's an actual character that I'm thinking of. I just can't remember who it is. Either way, so what's your take on the King of the Moon? Because it's kind of like Jason said, he's sort of a mixture between Popeye, Mork, with a little bit of,
So yeah, he's like all-knowing, one with the cosmos, can create and do anything when he's separated from his body. But then when mind and body come together, the body takes over and has, carnal needs.
Well, it's not just that, yeah, because I wrote down one of his lines where he was like, it's hard to believe my body and I were ever attached, which is kind of funny. He has almost a genie-like moment in the beginning where he's just sort of rattling off all these different jokes, and his company is just kind of overwhelmed with how silly and crazy he is. But then later he's like, I don't have time for flatulence and orgasms. He doesn't want to be reconnected with his body. So there's that.
What does he say when he just created spring?
Yeah, I just made it. It's a thing. But he's so
Eccentric, but I love it.
eccentric, but he's like a little spacey. No pun intended on that one. But he's just like, yes. Since the last time you saw me, Baron, now I have taken over the cosmos, and I rule the sun, and I rule everything, and it's just crazy. And then he reconnects, and you know what this is reminding me of? Those collars, and I'm sure the aluminum collars on him were for special effects reasons, so that they could put him in like a suit and black him out later when he's just supposed to be a floating head or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But you know what the collars remind me of on him and his wife are the collars from Men in Black when oh no, not Men in Black, Wild Wild West, where they put
yeah.
what's his name
Will
in real life?
Smith.
Kevin Kline and Will Smith in those metallic collars, and they keep smacking back into each other.
Yeah.
And then there are those blades that come chasing after them. That's what it reminded me of, even though this movie predates that. But I didn't see this movie before then, so. But yeah, you're what? Okay, now that I think about it, their hair, yeah, it does kind of look cello, like violinish. So that makes sense.
She has little windpipes on her windpipe, actually, on her collar.
What do you know?
Oh yeah, but the king's head is always trying to separate from his body because they hate being attached to each other.
Yeah, they seem like polar opposites.
Which is funny because when the king's body dies, his head does separate and he's free and kind of like the genie. He's like, oh, I'm finally free.
I'm free. Oh, blow this pop stand. But yeah, See, that's what I remember is the head spinning and the spinning off of his shoulders. That was in because I watched the preview for this movie when you first mentioned that you wanted to do it. I was like, oh, I've never heard of this movie. Let's check it out. And I watched the preview and I was like, this movie looks freaky AF. And you know what? It is.
It is, but I still love it. But so yeah, the King of the Moon has now trapped Baron and Sally in a cage. For trying to get with his wife, even though she is like 1,000,000 times bigger than him.
Yeah, I don't know.
The proportions
I
are
don't know how
way
that
off.
works.
Who knows?
I don't want to know, really. But yeah, they're just in this little cage, Sally and the Baron now. And meanwhile, the King and Queen of the Moon are just dealing with each other because it's funny that Jason brings up that the volcano guy was chasing after Uma Thurman all this time because the Queen of the Moon is constantly being pursued by the King when his body is whole. So when it's just Robin Williams' head, he's like, yes, I'm thinking about this and I've created that and the cosmos are one and we're all together and it's beautiful. But then he gets attached to his body and the male impulses take over and he's just all over his wife and she's like, stop. Like it's very Pepe Le Pew. He's just chasing her around constantly. And she's like,
and it's all ad-libbed.
Is it really?
Robin Williams usually did that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've discussed this before, Jason, where like you said that there would be scripts of
Well, yeah, like Robin Williams would just get a cue to do his thing.
Yeah, like you said that in Liar Liar, where it would even be written into the script where dialogue. Jim Carrey does his thing.
Yeah.
Dialogue, and then you'd sew it up on either end. But with Robin Williams, I think most movies just gave him the license to do that because he was so talented.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I think part of that might have been the fact that he was doing it for free.
Well, yeah, but sadly enough, like this is not one of my favorite Robin Williams appearances. And I don't know if it's just because the character doesn't appeal to me or what it is, but I just don't find it funny.
The character's genuinely repulsive.
Yeah.
But I think they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, my favorite thing in this entire sequence is when Sally asks the Baron why the Queen is making those noises. And he says, the king is with her body tickling her feet. And then it cuts to them actually tickling her feet.
Yep.
That's good. Still not a kid's movie.
No,
it was
not even
suggestive, but I didn't know.
Yeah. Ask your
I mean, we're not making fun of you for that. That's
ask
literally
your
the
Catholic
whole...
grandmother. Oh, dearie lass, you will never be watching this movie again.
You know, if you ever asked her how many times her and my grandpa got together, they would say 8 because she had 8 children.
Oh my god!
And that was it.
Would she own up to all 8?
Yes. No.
I mean, she's Catholic, so I mean, there's precedence for
It was 8.
Yeah.
Precisely.
And that was it.
Yeah.
Oh, but they finally found Berthold on the moon where the Baron left him.
Yes.
Well, and what's funny is there's this bit a little bit later where Berthold is like,
I'm
you
sorry.
left me here, you abandoned me, and left me for 20 years to suffer in a prison, and now you just show up and expect me to follow you to the ends of the earth?
Yes.
Okay, then let's go. And here's what I was talking about, all this bendy-wendy head nonsense where... it kind of makes me think about Rick and Morty when they were kept in a little terrarium.
Yeah. Well, that's actually what I thought when he first put them on the display shelf.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, I watched this and there's so many times that I feel sorry for the actors. You know, like having to walk in all wobbly, like, oh, I don't have a body. You're just going to not digitally, but you're going to mask out my body later on.
Acting is hard enough in and of itself. And I know we've mentioned the fact to anybody who's not worked on a movie set, for instance, like when you see a club scene or a dancing scene of some sort, how there's not actual music playing. And how awkward that is for all the actors on set because you're acting like,
except that one dude that everybody hates.
Oh, yeah. That one dude. He can just jump.
He's just always dancing.
Seriously. No, but they give you like a metronome, maybe like a very quiet version of the song if you're lucky. But either way, I can't even imagine going to these kinds of lengths where you have to pretend that you're a floating head. And
I'm sure it was no problem for Robin Williams, though.
But Zach Braff even did it on Scrubs, where he would have his little...
floating head doctor.
Yeah. He's like, and, his body would be setting itself on fire while his head was off doing karaoke or something. But it's just, it's so awkward. And
it's a kid's movie.
Yeah, because Robin Williams
He's tickling her feet with a feather.
Yep.
fine,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Oh, but the stuff he says is just so naughty. Like he's
I wipe everything away.
I wipe everything. Yeah.
No.
But it looks like he's got a camera stashed away and
Like he's wearing a GoPro
Yeah,
on top of his,
yeah.
and what is he like duct taped his head to his shoulder?
Or not even that. The statue behind the bed, his eyes light up like there's a camera inside. The
God.
statue.
Gross.
Yeah.
Oh,
I have
this is
just invented the internet and revenge porn.
Ah.
But I do love this part because they cut off a lock of the queen's hair from the moon. And they're tying it together because that's how they're going to get off the moon. They're
Yes.
basically going to tie it around the end of the moon and climb down to Earth.
After
Yes.
the queen gets all pissy for being rejected when she's like, "Take me with you, Baron," and he's like, "Without your body?" And she goes, "Oh, is that the only reason why you liked me?" And he's like, "Well, duh." But and it kind of leads to a almost Wile E. Coyote moment when they're climbing
Yeah.
down the
Yeah.
rope.
They run out of hair, and so the Baron's like, "Oh, here, take this and tie it to the end."
Where'd you get that?
And he turns out the Baron's just been cutting the hair from the top and tying it at the bottom, and they keep climbing down until they realize that there's nothing holding them up at the top, and they fall down.
Well, that's
Yeah, very Wile E. Coyote. Well, that reminds me of the scene later when the Baron is underwater and he pulls himself up by
his hair.
By his hair.
Him
Yeah.
and his
yeah.
horse.
And his horse. Yeah,
And his
yeah,
horse.
and his horse.
Well, and that's what's funny is that his lack of logic is almost the through line of this. It's like the Gopher and Caddyshack. It's what ties everything together because honestly, it is Wile E. Coyote in the sense that they're not going to fall. It's not Wile E. Coyote walking off the cliff edge that makes him fall. It's his sudden realization that he did it. Because when the guy's like, "Where'd you get the rest of this hair?" "I cut it from the top." Obviously, it's such little kid logic.
Yeah.
Funnily enough about that, if you've ever watched the Looney Tunes kids, what was the kids one?
Tiny Toons.
Tiny Toons.
Toons.
So they're in school for that kind of humor. And one of the episodes, Buster is like, "Now remember, guys, close your eyes the entire time, and then you'll make it across. Because if
Yep.
you look, you'll fall." So they close their eyes and they run off a cliff and they make it to the other side because they didn't look down.
It's actually brilliant when you think about it. You know, they're,
you
they're,
can't-
they're using the rules of their universe correctly.
Yeah, because you can't have logic in these adventures. They're almost mutually
Well,
exclusive.
see, and that's one thing that kind of takes away from the movie for me is the lack of consequence. Because when
Yeah.
you're about halfway through the movie, you start realizing nothing. They literally, whatever they get into, they're going to get out of. So it's
Without
just,
much effort
almost
from
see
the
that-
Baron either.
But you almost see the despair and almost the fall of the Baron when he gets eaten by the fish and he is,
Yeah.
is basically resided himself to die there inside
Right.
the fish. He's given up and he's turned old again at that point.
I think it's my favorite sequence in the whole movie is the shot of all of the ships inside the sea monster.
Oh,
Now, see,
I
I would've-
really liked it when the strong man picks up every anchor from the ship and starts twirling them around and hurls them at the Turks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
He,
very
he is
visually stunning
very
movie.
strong. And the strong man, as far as aging goes, he really did the best.
They put some baby powder along his temples
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
called it a day.
Yeah, he looks exactly the same age. He hasn't aged a bit,
Well-
especially compared to I can't remember their names. The guy with the sharpshooter and the guy who can blow
Gustavus.
Gustavus, because they aged badly,
Gustavus for the rest of us.
really badly.
Yeah,
And-
most of them did.
yeah. I mean, the sharpshooter guy, his voice when he ages is the creepiest thing in the universe, and I hate it, and I never want to hear it again.
But they're
But
yeah.
you're gonna.
But they're all old. Like Meg was pointing out to me the fact that Baron Munchausen is the only one that bounces around in age. The rest of them are apparently stuck with, temporal aging.
Well, because
So-
I think it's because they all have their own superpower, and I think the Baron's superpower is his.
Yeah.
his eternal
yeah.
youth
Yeah.
and hijinks. Yeah,
He's
a
the
little
Time
bit.
Lord. Yeah.
Yeah, he is. And here's Jason's most hated sequence.
Oh,
where
yeah.
we
Venus
get a
on the
naked
half
Uma
shell.
Thurman.
Really can't.
No,
stand
all you
this.
see is the one booby.
Yeah.
Just the one.
Just the one.
And you got to keep an eye
Oh,
out for it.
oh.
You have to know that it's happening.
Oh, bit of boob.
Yeah, because it just this big dramatic
Yeah,
reveal.
there we go. Uma Thurman starting her movie career
Naked.
naked,
Like
And
you
she's
do.
been in the movies now
many,
for-
many other actresses.
It was just an innocent modeling job.
Yeah. No, I mean Uma Thurman's she's a terrific actress.
She's been around for
Yeah,
years.
You know,
I don't care for her that much.
I think Uma Thurman is very polarizing. I think people either really like her or
You're
really
gonna miss
don't.
the boob shot.
Yeah, you better pay
It's right
attention,
there.
There it is.
Jason. You don't want to miss
Right there.
that.
Oh, was that a nipple?
That's it. That's all you get to see. But
It's a kid's
it was
movie.
there.
Is
And
it
then
though?
I love that they just sort of clumsily and badly wrap her in cloth, and then it turns into a dress.
Hey,
That's how magic works. We talked about this. It's
Just
a pretty dress,
imagine.
though. I want that dress.
But yeah, it is kind of funny because she is one of those characters that doubles because she's one of the actresses in the
Yeah.
troupe, and then of course she, because at first it seems like Baron Munchausen doesn't differentiate between women. He's happy with just about anybody, but then you see that Uma Thurman's the one that he likes the best because she's the one who winds up in his story.
Yeah. And, Vulcan comes across here like, how do I say this politely? Like Venus hadn't been putting out in a while.
Yeah.
Well, and I think mythologically standing, she doesn't really like him because Hephaestus / Vulcan is supposed to be this like deformed
Yeah.
being that is, stuck to a forge.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
she cheats on him a lot.
Well, wouldn't you?
When he's very clearly marking his territory, he's like, "This is Venus, my
My
wife,
wife."
my wife."
That's how he kind of says it too. My
Does
wife.
he? I didn't catch that when I watched it.
My love, my life.
Yeah, he compresses a piece of coal into a diamond for her.
Yeah.
And she's just so not impressed by that.
No.
He
no.
pulls it out from his crotch too. You see all that
Yeah.
work he's kind of pulling out.
Yeah.
Gotta
yeah.
remind you where his rocks are.
Well, yeah, because there's so much little room down there. It was hard to stuff it out.
Wah, wah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Vulcan.
It's a strange sequence. No two ways about it. But
Stranger than any of the rest of the sequences, or
I'm no, it's not as strange as the moon
And
sequence. The moon
sorry,
sequence
Jason,
wins.
She like pets him like a dog because he presents her with this diamond that's the size of my thumb. Which
Yeah,
is
and-
pretty impressive. But she's just like, "Thank you," and
Yeah.
just sort of strokes his head like a dog. It's
Well,
great.
and then she hands the diamond to the two actresses who look like nobody told them what to do. They just, sort of like, go sit over there. She's going to hand you a diamond, do something. you
Yeah,
know?
do something with
They're-
it.
what, do I put my arm up? Like
Apparently,
this?
Madonna's not correct. Diamonds are not a girl's best friend.
But the Baron is just utterly infatuated
Yeah.
with her, and almost the story ends here because he wants to dance with her forever.
Yeah, that could have been
Yeah.
the end of the movie.
She's almost like a
And
siren
then
in that sense.
Sally reminds them of the goal at
Well,
hand.
she has to remind him throughout the movie. She's like, "Hello, my family and all my friends are under siege in this attack." And what's funny is that he's like, "No, they're totally fine." And she goes, "Well, how do you know?" He's like, "I just know." And meanwhile, it flashes back and the barricades are being
Yeah,
broken
yeah.
down. And there's some mortar and explosions happening everywhere. It's insane.
Yeah.
But when Uma Thurman looks at him, I half expected his little rat tail ponytail to stick straight
Yeah.
up.
What, like
Yeah.
alfalfa from
Yeah.
the Little Rascals?
Yeah.
Boing.
He made the rat tail cool. The only
Did he,
the
though?
only human being in history to pull that off.
Everything about him is so weird, but it works.
And Vulcan having steam coming out of his ears is just that crossed the line.
So
to
cartoonish.
just- yeah, it's like now
that's why it's a
it's
kids'
Hanna
movie
Barbera.
now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we've
That
crossed.
balances the nipple out.
He's now Snidely Whiplash or Dick Dastardly.
Yeah.
He's on that kind of a
Come
level.
and see the ballroom. I don't want to see Vulcan's ballroom.
Neither
because
does
I
Uma
su-
Thurman. That's why
Because
he's so
I
pissed
suspect it's where you hang the balls up of all the people you didn't like.
Or her flirted with his wife.
Yeah, yeah.
Fluted.
Well, and I don't understand this little sidetrack right here because Uma Thurman is obviously trying to rile up her husband by. Well, no, you don't really realize that until the end when Vulcan gets pissed and throws them all into a whirlpool except for her, and she's like, "Well, wait, didn't I excite you? Wasn't that fun?" Like, and it's like, oh, she's messing with
Classic
him.
cuckold fantasy.
It was either that or she was, trying to get herself out of trouble.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
possibly.
Yeah. I mean, she is, because, gods and goddesses, they were just doing this shit all the time.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
they
just to
mess
fuck
with
with
each
each
other.
other.
Yeah. I mean, her dad probably made her get married to this guy and probably, turned his foot into an elk that had sex with her or some other creepy-ass weird shit that happened.
Like you do.
Yeah, because, they were just bored and coming up with this stuff,
Hey, after you've spent an eternity doing everything you want to do, I mean, what else are you going to do but mess with others around you?
Yeah.
But what I think is really funny is how Bertolt thinks that he's just going to distract Vulcan. Look at me dancing all awkwardly. That'll
And
distract
yet
you
it
from
works.
It
Yeah.
does, but it's like that'll distract you from your wife cheating on you in the room next door.
Well, because Bertold, the Kurgan, whatever his name is, Vulcan, he's looking at him and thinking, God, you used to be so funny in Monty Python. What happened?
Yeah.
He's pretty funny in this.
This is one of the few post Python Eric Idle things that
He's doing his ministry of
I just watched him actually in Casper, and I was like, oh, how the mighty have fallen.
Yeah, that's rough. That is very rough. Why did you watch that?
I have a 2-year-old.
Yeah, she's got a kid, so she's got reasons. But yeah, it just, I don't know.
Yeah. Meanwhile,
This set, though, do you know how much water they're pumping out?
Oh, yeah.
That? Like, my God.
no, this movie. I mean, when you look at this movie, you kind of think, how did it only cost $40 million? How did they not go over budget even more?
So good. I wanted
Right.
to be on that particular set as a kid.
Yeah,
It would
I
have
can
been
see
cool.
that.
It's just that, but what's really interesting about this whole movie is that you could have taken the set, scratched every single actor, and rewritten an entirely different story to fit it. Mm-hmm. Like the set itself, okay, let's scratch everything and from the actors up, just keep the set and start over.
Well, see, and that's the sad thing about a lot of movies like this is that probably when the movie was over with, all the sets got immediately chipped into scrap wood and thrown in the garbage. You know,
Well, 'cause-
they don't save. They don't do that anymore. They don't really save stuff.
Well, I don't know, it depends on the movie, I think, because the Harry Potter franchise, they've preserved all of those sets. You can tour them these days.
Yeah, that's such a huge.
Yeah, I mean, they knew that they could make money off of it.
Yeah.
No, but that's
keeping
what I'm
it.
saying. It
Yeah.
depends on the success of the movie. If you're talking about how this movie got torched in the box offices
Oh, yeah,
by its own company, and you could only show it in 117 places throughout all of the
Yeah.
United States.
Well, and that's
then why would they preserve anything?
Yeah, but
from
that's
it?
assuming you didn't send more than one print to a theater.
Oh,
They had
yeah.
117 prints of the movie, but they would probably send 2 or 3 to a theater, in a big market.
Middle of, yeah.
So if you live, I mean, like this movie didn't play anywhere near me whenever I was a kid. I didn't see this movie.
This movie came
Was
out the
this
year.
movie big at all over in the UK? Because I only had this movie on VHS. That's the only way I know.
I think that the number I saw was that it
VHS.
grossed something like 8 or 9 million.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's sad.
I mean, it was.
And yet Rotten Tomatoes gives it a 92%.
Well, it's sort of one of those rehabilitated movies. You know, it's a movie that at the time it totally flopped, but then years later, people go back and give it another look, and they realize, no, wait a minute. I mean, regardless of what you think about the movie, it shouldn't have been that much of a flop. You know, it's like The Emperor's New Groove.
And there are so many different factors involved in a movie's success that have nothing to do with how good or bad it even is as a film. Like, you've got people cutting certain things, like you said, Christopher Lambert's part being cut. I mean, even Highlander, when it came out, it got stomped by, it was a John Hughes movie. I can't remember if it was Pretty in Pink or...
No, I think it was Pretty in Pink.
It might have been.
Yeah.
Either way, it got completely flattened by a movie that was going to kick the crap out of it. But with this movie, it became a cult classic regardless. Obviously. It's not one of my favorites, but still.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, this movie was engineered to be a cult movie.
Like, it knew it was never going to reach a status above that, so maybe that's why Terry Gilliam just went for it.
I think he's okay with that, because you got to remember, I mean, Terry Gilliam, this is a guy who,
How much did Monty Python gross?
that's what I'm saying. I mean, the guy's making money,
Yeah,
and
I mean, you want to talk about a cult classic.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, one of the movies they made has grossed God knows how much money. Plus they've got the TV series. I mean, yeah, Terry Gilliam's not hurting. So yeah,
Neither is John Cleese or like any of those guys, really.
well, John Cleese got divorced, so he's
he
having
and Johnny are hanging out now.
Yeah, he's having to make a lot of commercials.
That sucks.
To pay the bills. Yeah.
So I don't know if anybody else does this when they're watching a movie, but so Vulcan is throwing them all into the whirlpool. Does anybody else, when people get stuck
Hold
in
their
water,
breath?
hold their breath?
Hell yes, I do. I did that. I think I set my record when I was watching Deep Blue Sea on loop as a kid, because Tom Jane can hold his breath in that movie for like 8 minutes at a time.
This is a long one. I'm
insane.
currently holding my breath right now.
Which
Yes.
is impressive.
Yeah,
We'll see.
Yeah.
but yeah, I have definitely played
Talking
that game
makes it
before.
worse.
Well, yeah, but I've totally done that game before, absolutely. So I can relate to you on that one.
Vulcan and Venus have a good relationship. I think they're going to make it.
It's so healthy.
I think they are, you know?
Hey, they keep that spark alive by
I think
making each other
I
ragingly
think I
jealous.
see an ABC sitcom in the future for these two.
And
Like
Hell
Beatrix and Benedict the later
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Straight to the moon,
We'll
Alice.
get John Goodman and...
No. Wait a minute. As who? Vulcan or
Yeah,
Benedict?
Vulcan. No, it's Vulcan.
I was like, what?
No, it's Vulcan.
I don't know. He's looking kind of sack of bones right now.
Well, he lost a
lost a lot of weight.
significant
He
amount of
did.
weight,
Yeah.
yeah.
But now his body just needs to retract.
But yeah, this was off.
Oh no, we're in the upside down.
We were talking about that
Netflix released
earlier on.
How it's another Pirates of the Caribbean moment where the world they have to turn their ship upside down in order to reach the ends of the earth to get to Davy Jones' locker. But yeah, it's there's so many similar aspects. I would never have thought of that. But yeah, this is a story all about how the Baron got stuck in the upside down. So there you go. That's my wrapping segment for today, listeners.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome. I know you love it when I do that. But yeah, you almost get a Titus Andromedon vibe.
No, I'm telling you.
From the strong
I'm telling
man.
you.
I can see it.
Gimme.
Kimmy, oh my goodness, you know I don't do water.
Yeah. So this is leading up to, I think, my favorite visual sequences in the movie.
giant fish.
Yeah,
The fish.
the giant fish and and inside the fish.
Well, and you know what? I wonder.
It's
with
very
the-
Pinocchio.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like that guy from the Bible who got swallowed by the whale.
Except-
Pinocchio.
Wait, somebody got swallowed by a whale in the Bible? Hold on.
That's a Futurama reference.
Oh, okay. I thought you were just
Do
making
love
stuff up.
Futurama.
No, but seriously, yeah, it does have a Jonah and the Whale feel, but I wonder with John Neville's background, because he was largely a stage actor, so you have to wonder with all these set pieces and stuff, is it just Terry Gilliam, or maybe did John Neville have some influence
I'm sure. Well,
over it looking more like a stage production than it does a movie? Because
I don't know if anybody had influence over Terry Gilliam.
There's
Well,
no
then-
way.
Yeah.
Well, because some of the notes that I read, it said maybe the director helped attract John Neville. So maybe the reason why John Neville agreed to be Baron Munchausen is because it was a very theater-looking movie,
Yeah.
as opposed to, you know, him having influence over it himself. So maybe that was what attracted him to the project in the first place.
Yeah, and this whole sequence with the fish, you know, they see an island, and you know, very, very, you know, Godzilla-like. I mean, this whole sequence it really reminds me of a Toho. You know, like
Yeah.
it's K for kaiju,
God, what a
and you know,
bad movie.
will it eat us with any luck? And then it does. It eats them for no particular reason,
They were
Doesn't mean-
splashing around.
I guess.
But they're
Disturbing
so
his
tiny.
sleep.
But yeah, exactly. A fish that big would have burned more energy going
Swallowing
after
them,
I
them.
mean,
Yeah.
to be fair,
Yeah.
they were no bigger than a worm would be to a regular sized fish. I mean,
It's the movement that attracts them.
yeah.
But okay, now Jason, you're trying to shoehorn logic into a movie that has said, in particular,
I was just pointing it out.
it's got no room for logic. So that's not how you have an adventure.
Oh yeah, now you see how they did the weathering on these ships. That's very intricate model building.
what's all the stomach acid?
It eroded the varnish.
Johnny Depp's in there somewhere.
Shut up. No, he's in Davy Jones' locker. That's not inside
I in
a
this
fish,
movie?
Jason.
Am I? No. Oh, sorry, different movie.
I get swallowed by giant beasts all the time, Jerry Smith. But yeah,
I love you, Jerry Smith.
I
You're my
love
best
doing
friend.
cocaine with you.
I love doing cocaine with you too, Johnny Depp.
Anyway, yeah, he's in there somewhere, most likely. No, he's in the belly of the Kraken, not a fish. That's the difference. But anyway, so you do kind of get this grim, drab.
That's a new word.
Drim. I
Drim.
combined grim and drab.
That's nice. Yeah.
You're welcome. Shakespeare invented words. I just aspire to be like Mr. Shakespeare. But
Is there a doctor in the fish?
no doctors. So, okay, Meg, this is a question that I have for you, having seen this
Yes?
movie so many times. So this is the first time that you hear Baron Munchausen say, no doctors.
Right.
No doctors. And then later, you sort of see why when, spoiler alert listeners, the Baron gets shot by Jonathan Pryce. And,
Who was portraying a doctor? Well, no, sorry,
no.
a
The
doctor
angel
comes.
of death.
Yeah, Dr. Death.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. The angel of death is actually looking like a doctor. He comes up to help him, but the Baron's like, no doctors. What is it with doctors? Like,
Well, so the way I took it was, I feel like, maybe I'm generalizing, but elderly people don't want to go to the doctor or the hospital because that's where you die.
Yeah.
okay.
And I've known elderly people who have been, they've had that exact mentality. No doctors, no
Right.
hospitals.
Yeah.
Hospitals where sick people go.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, well, Grandma, you are sick. But no, but
I think it just means that he's gone up against the doctor before as a Time Lord, you see. And so
Is he the master?
I think he might be the master.
David Tennant, can
Yeah.
we get you to weigh in on this, love? Any time or any mention?
I
you
think
wanna give
David
us?
Tennant officially doesn't care.
Oh, but he's going to be at Dragon Con in a few weeks.
That's
He
true.
is.
That's
oh
true.
God. So, and we
Hit
gotta
me up, man.
Here comes that voice.
Yeah.
God, I hate this voice.
Why did his voice change so much? Because it was fine in the beginning, where he's like,
Probably
oh,
because they didn't need to use it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know,
I think that Terry Gilliam went, ooh, I've got an idea.
yeah.
I think a lot of this movie was him going, ooh, I've got an
If
idea.
anything, the guy whose voice should have changed should have been Gustavus, because he's the one who's,
who blows the gale
whole-
force
yeah.
winds. Yeah, that's the only one who's like maybe hurting his own larynx or whatever. But the Hawkeye, no, that shouldn't have been a problem for him.
Yeah.
I don't actually know what his name is. I just call him Hawkeye.
Yeah, he's a strong, independent woman who don't need no man. He's I don't know. But yeah, he's turned into a woman with that voice because it just completely changes for literally no reason. But maybe that goes back to the whole...
Adolphus.
That's it.
But maybe that goes back to, Christopher Lambert being cut out, and just so much stuff maybe got cut out that we just cut something that explained why his voice changes. Who knows? So
Well, it could have been.
there's a lot of mystery behind it.
Maybe he smoked. You don't know.
Yeah.
This is where Baron Munchausen comes in and gets voted the Pirate King. Oh, wait, sorry. Different movie franchise, guys. My bad. But
You were just all about that Pirates tonight.
I have never been about Pirates of the Caribbean in all of my life.
I'm not going to be a pirate. I'm going to be a
Pirate King. Oh, Archer.
Yeah.
Heart of
Kimmy.
Archness.
But the whole group is together again now in the belly of a fish.
Yes.
But what's
yes.
sad is that he's reunited with his whole crew, right? So Baron Munchausen should theoretically be happy, but this is where he drops anchor, no pun intended, and kind of gives up on his own adventure.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
he's not with Venus anymore. Because that was
Yeah.
the love of his life, and he was
Yeah.
happy. And
He keeps trying to die when he's around Sally, and she's the one who provides the constant kick in the ass. Like, no, fool, you said you were going to save my friends and family back home.
the
Yeah.
young keep the old youthful.
Meanwhile, Death is anteed up. Death is dealing the cards.
And it seems like Sally is the only one that can see
yeah.
death.
Yeah. That shows up again in the Dr. Death scene, right? Where she sees him, she recognizes him.
nobody else
flips out.
does,
Nobody
yeah.
else seems to be able to
She's
see
having
death.
a fit.
She's like a cat where, like, you know how people postulate that cats can see spirits, which is why they'll sort of freeze and
Well,
stare
children
at the
are
wall?
supposed to be able to see spirits as well.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which
I
is
thought it was
weird
just
because
animals.
sometimes my kid, she'll just be staring and she'll just be talking. I'm like, who are you talking to?
Do you ever
kid?"
ask her who she's talking to?
I do.
She's dead people.
No.
Sometimes she points. She goes, right there.
No, I actually know somebody who was she was watching her grandkid, and he was like 3, something like that, and she's giving him a bath, and she takes him out of the bath, she's drying him off, and he literally, now imagine this happening to you and how quickly you would burn your house down, because she's drying the kid off, and then he says, "Grandma, who's that man behind you?"
Oh, hell no.
And she's,
love it.
And she turns around, and of course, there's nobody there. And she turns back, and she's like, "What are you talking about?" The man behind you. Who is he? And my response would be, "Sweetie, wait here. I have to get gasoline and matches because I'm burning this house down."
You sage the house. Come on.
No, burn it down. It's faster. It's
No.
easier. Yes, save so much time and
Which-
trouble.
this is so ironic, listeners.
Do you know how much money you could make off of a haunted house? Come on.
Yeah,
Well, that-
Jason, you're the one who went to the Queen Mary.
I lived in
and-
a haunted house.
I know.
Trust me, it wasn't fun.
You could have gotten a TV crew in there. You
Well,
could have
that is
been
true.
an episode or two.
if it was today, yeah, but those guys, you don't even need the haunted house.
But there, and there are people who would pay to live in. They would pay top dollar to
No,
live in a
you're
haunted
absolutely
house.
right. There are-
or Airbnb it
Yeah,
to specific people.
yeah,
who
there
want
are
to be
people who
haunted.
are marketing their houses now as haunted.
Oh,
yeah.
which house was like some house that was based off of a real haunted story, but they made a movie out of it, and then the house
Amityville?
maybe, I don't know, but they recently just sold the house, and the people didn't actually want to live in it. They just wanted to own it, and then I think like rent it
out.
out.
Yeah. Hey, it makes sense. You know.
Well, I mean, on there's another podcast out there called My Brother and Me. It's very famous. But the brothers do a little bit where they read these eBay sells of like haunted dolls.
Oh,
because there are haunted dolls on eBay where people are like, oh, this is Emily. She's a very playful spirit. Every now and then she moves around and like changes the furniture or whatever.
I have one of those dolls.
I know you do. And it was
Seriously?
not because she does. And I can attest to this because listeners, as you may well not know, I just bought Meg's old house, and Meg bought a new house because we do everything together, and it was just destiny that I was going to buy her house.
Did you leave the doll for her?
I tried.
She tried,
So
damn it.
it's this 3-foot tall doll that's enclosed in a glass case, and I was going to leave it in the attic for her.
Nope.
I tried. I really did.
There's not even really a proper attic. I would have found it.
Actually,
I'll have to take a picture of it.
She left a weeping angel for me, too.
I did.
That's what's really effed up.
You know what I decided to do when we sell our house? I'm going to go to like a Halloween store. I'm going to buy a skeleton, and in the crawl space in our basement,
Are you gonna like tie it up in a trash bag?
I'm gonna put a skeleton back there because one day whoever buys our house is gonna go in that crawl space looking for
Yep.
something. Well, no.
Here's your up by the braid out of the water.
Oh, yeah, where he pulls
She's
himself
looking
out
for
of
the
the
doll, listeners. I will get her to text me the image so that I can put it in the show notes for you guys, or we can put it up on the website in general. But yeah, so she had this 3-foot doll in the garage, and it was the weekend that I was set to move into Meg's house, and I was in the garage, and I saw the doll. I was like, you are not leaving that effing thing here.
Now, did you buy
really
it
tried.
because it was haunted?
No, it's been mine since I was a kid. It was my mom's.
Is it haunted?
Probably.
Okay.
I mean, like
There's no definitive proof as of yet.
I mean, this is an old
Has anything
doll.
weird ever happened around it?
I don't really pay attention.
It's not
Okay,
like
all
it's
right.
not like the Teddy Ruxpin
It doesn't-
doll that yells,
that
"White
kind of
lady!"
stuff doesn't. See, I'm looking out for that stuff, but
Yeah.
nothing happens. But if anything, I mean,
She did sneak a weeping angel into my house purchase, though, because my laundry room is upstairs. And when you pull open the little doors, there's this little angel statue
No good.
with its little chin in its hands. And I was like, I texted her, I was like, you left me a freaking weeping angel in the house. And she, honestly, Meg had just forgotten it was there.
I did.
But I was like, why is it there in the first
Sure.
place in the laundry
I'm
room?
not gonna get it.
This is some hot nonsense.
Yeah, I've got a friend who's a
Burn it with fire.
He was a home inspector, and he went to a house one day, and he's doing the inspection, and he goes up in the attic, and apparently the people had moved out, and the only thing that they didn't take with them when they moved was the 6-foot tall Grim Reaper that they had standing in the attic. And so he opens up the attic and turns his flashlight on, and right in front of him is a Grim Reaper.
See, what I want to do
Love it.
eventually when we move is I'll do your idea, Jason, with the skeleton, except I'll get one of those animated Freddy Krueger animatronics
Who is
from...
also going to be a Dragon Con
Yeah,
this
everybody
year.
and their mom is going to be a Dragon Con this year. It's going to be lit, listeners, and you will probably get to see me dressed like Gail from Bob's Burgers. So make an appearance, and you might get to meet Jason and Darth Jader.
You know what else you could do is leave this was the other idea I had for leaving in the house, was make a treasure map or something that looks like it's telling somebody
The
where,
Holy Grail.
but then cut off the part where it actually says where it is.
Yes.
And just see, what effect that has on people.
Well, what
it's
I was
sort of
about-
like my dying words. I told you that, right? What I'm going to say whenever I die.
What are your dying words?
The gold is in the. Yeah.
Or something like, I should have never.
Yeah.
Yeah, just trail
It
off.
was.
The antidote is in my.
No, but I'm going to make sure to get my Freddy Krueger animatronic from a local Halloween store, leave it in the garage or somewhere spooky.
A Halloween store in January.
Oh,
How
my-
delightfully droll.
Oh, they out there.
No, but what I'll do is record over its audio and make it sound like Scary Terry.
That's cool.
People walk into the house, aw, bitch. A, B, C, he's Scary Terry.
I hate that song.
I hate that song, bitch. But yeah, I think that'd be
We
great.
got you covered.
Don't even trip,
Don't even trip, dog.
Don't even trip.
So we have reached the.
And this is the ultimate level of convenience with this movie, the it'll all work itself outness. Because
Yes.
So the Vulcan guy throws them into the whirlpool. They wind up inside the fish, and then what do? They drop some snuff to get the fish to sneeze them out.
He sprinkles some snuff outside the
Adolphus looks
fish.
like Blinken from Robin Hood Men in
A
Tights.
Blinken.
That's who I keep thinking of.
A Blinken.
Oh my god, that's exactly who he looks like.
No, I
Good
said,
call.
hey, Blinken.
You've lost your arms. But you
Why not? It worked in Blazing Saddles.
when
Same
he's-
movie.
Yeah. I don't remember that bit.
Dave Chappelle.
Oh, yeah.
A black sheriff.
Yeah.
Why not? It worked in Blazing Saddles.
His name was Achu.
Yeah, at you.
Gesundheit.
Fagalus? No, not gay. Just married.
Oh, Carrie Elways. Carrie.
That's
I
his
love
best
you.
movie.
And I miss
That
you.
I love.
Dave Chappelle.
Well, yes. Yes, actually.
Excuse me, The Princess Bride, which
No.
you guys, we've got it on the schedule again. Cece is coming to discuss The Princess Bride.
No, I'm not knocking The Princess Bride, but Robin Hood Men in Tights is
It's a great
They're-
movie.
you know what? They're-
fantastic.
They're
Well,
pretty tied.
My friend John Strangeway, and since we're less than a month away from Dragon Con at this point, my friend John Strangeway is one of the best cosplayers I've ever met in my life. Last year, he was part of a troupe of the Men in Tights who actually put a flash mob together to perform the Men in Tights song in the middle of the Marriott Grand Marquis in downtown Atlanta.
Don't catch Legionnaires.
John, you're the man. Shout out to you. So, yeah, we are in Dragon Con season, guys, and I couldn't be more
I
excited.
just realized that's gonna kind of mess with Dragon Con, the whole thing with the Sheraton. For people who don't live in Atlanta, and they probably haven't heard that story, the Sheraton in downtown Atlanta is closed.
Right.
Oh,
because-
Oh,
know
it's
that.
going to mess with Dragon Con big time.
Because of a Legionnaires outbreak. And in fact, they just announced on the news today that that a woman, and I didn't think Legionnaires ever killed anybody, but one woman died.
Was she a
and
little bit older?
I don't.
Where was it? Like, how did they find it in the hotel?
Legionnaires, it hits hotels because the way hotel air conditioning systems
Yeah,
work,
it's like a...
in the water circulation, it builds up there and then it comes through the air conditioning.
Yep.
What the fuck?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there's that.
So that's going to be an interesting little wrinkle to Dragon Con.
It's going to definitely change our navigational systems.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's
You know-
kind of like Disney World, or Disneyland, how you mentioned that the quickest way to get around Disneyland is to walk inside the shops.
Yeah.
Not out in the main thoroughfare. But that's the key to Dragon Con is knowing how to navigate the hotels.
Well, I'll tell you the scary thing. What you guys ought to be worried about with Dragon Con is that I don't know how long it's going to be an Atlanta thing.
Shut your mouth.
Atlanta.
It's like one of their biggest attractions.
Yeah.
But it's outgrowing Atlanta.
No, that's not the problem. People, there's one of the big conventions that I go to used to alternate between San Diego and Atlanta.
Okay.
Every other year it was either in San Diego or Atlanta, and they finally had enough complaints from people.
What,
There were-
Comic-Con?
No. This is a boring
Oh, okay.
business convention. But here's the thing. Apparently, the hotels downtown wrote a letter to the mayor saying we're about to start losing our biggest conventions because people don't want to come to Atlanta because they don't feel safe.
What? Dragon Con is the safest weekend to be in Atlanta.
7 hotels. The general managers wrote the letter saying we're having people pull out. No, the convention that I go to, they've said it's going to be San Diego for the next 5 years, and they're going to Nashville.
What?
What
Yeah.
the hell?
Yeah. So yeah.
Oh Jesus! Then
There's
see,
no
Meg,
way.
Meg,
I mean, it's the same week as like Pride Week that Atlanta gets so much revenue
it's a
from that.
trifecta. Yeah, you can.
Well, the
hopefully
city
that
can do
won't
all
happen.
they want, but the problem is if the people putting it on think, I mean,
Someone
think about-
else will reach
well,
out to
well,
put
think
it
about
on, though.
this. If you have a convention that makes however much money a year, how many percentages off of that do you lose before you change locations?
But I mean, I can't even imagine what kind of money that the hotels are raking in just from people staying
No,
there.
the
because-
hotels aren't going to cancel it. What they're saying is the organizers of the convention are going to look for a different city.
Why the organizers though? Like, who's pulling out to make them want to go somewhere else?
The organizers,
vendors?
the people who would book the hotels for the conventions are saying we're getting complaints from people who don't want to be in Atlanta.
Are they getting complaints from like the guest stars?
from the people who go to the conventions.
No.
That's idiotic. Like I don't know.
Hey,
Hopefully it won't happen.
go look it up.
I'm
Go-
I'm
yeah,
not
go
saying it
look it
isn't
up,
a
yeah.
thing. I'm just saying it's idiotic. But hopefully it'll stay in Atlanta because good God, like, and someone else pick up the mantle for the love of God. Like,
That's
just
like my favorite weekend.
seriously, that is my highest of holy holidays.
I know it is. I know. I'm not. This brings me no joy to tell you this.
Forget
There
Christmas,
would be
forget
too much.
Halloween,
There'd be
forget
rioting
everything
in the
Dragon
streets
Con.
if they did it.
Yeah, I would be one
There's-
of those people. That's
I mean, the closest other convention is MomoCon, but it's not nearly
it's
as
not the
big.
same thing at all. And plus, like, that's the week, because my mom was expressing concern a couple of years back because I was going to Dragon Con for the first time. I was going stag, and even when you go stag to Dragon Con, all of your groups of friends they're just all over the place. So you mostly just spend your time walking around, hanging out with your friends, meeting up with this group now, meeting up with another group later, whatever the case may be. But my mom was concerned that I was going down there by myself. And I was like, Mom, don't you understand? This is the biggest group of nerds that convenes all year, and we all have real weapons. So if anybody does try to attack me or hurt me in some kind of way, we've got a bunch of very chivalrous nerds who are willing to settle that dispute and come to your rescue. I love Dragon Con. My God. So, yeah, hopefully that won't happen.
Well, hopefully not.
But after that 10-minute stint, let's get back to
the
Baron
movie's almost
Munchausen.
over now.
Well, I mean, sadly, and I'll say this as the negative Nancy in the room who's not the biggest fan of this movie, you can talk through a lot of it.
Yeah,
and
you
not
really,
miss a
you
whole
really
lot.
can. Yeah.
You missed tons.
I mean, I think that's sort of
The
my,
Baron's
know.
saving the day right now by...
Finally.
I think that's my problem with the movie is that you can literally go, it's the beginning of the battle sequence.
It could have
Skip
been an
ahead.
hour long,
You can,
and it
can
would've
skip
been
ahead to
fine.
the end of it, and
I
you know.
love every second.
Well, and that that's the thing about these movies is that they are, it's always a question of when did you watch it, and although I say that
Timing is the key to life, as my dad would say.
Yeah, I mean, I say that, but look at the original Star Wars trilogy. When I was a kid, there was nothing greater. It was the greatest thing in the world. I can't really waste the time to sit through them anymore.
You bite your tongue.
I forgot how lengthy they actually are because I watched one the other day.
They are very long, yeah.
Yeah, but I forgot that as a kid.
Well, yeah. When you're a kid, it's like an hour. It seems, if even. But
they're lengthy movies. It just it's funny because as a kid, you don't have deadlines. You don't have any of this stress on the outside where you're like, I should be doing insert task here. Like, I think Carrie Bradshaw said it best. Why are we shooting all over ourselves? Take the time to enjoy the movie. That's fine. If you're going to sit down and watch it, enjoy it.
Well, yeah.
But I know what you mean is that, like, even watching this movie, I was like, God, this thing is 2 hours long. Ugh. And
it's no worse than me sitting down watching Lord of the Rings Extended Edition, which I do all the time.
Yes, you do. I can attest to that. Yeah. But it just, it's kind of like who has the time. But with this movie, after watching it in the studio for the second time with you guys, even though it's on silent, I'll probably never watch this movie ever again.
Okay, but what about Endgame? Wasn't that 3 hours long?
Well, it's not a question of length.
I only saw it once.
Movies, Schindler's List is a long movie, but it needed to be. It needed to be
to really fill out all the detail to tell the story. But with this movie, that's not necessary, in my opinion. Like, because the Baron doesn't do he's not like Hercules where he has to undertake 7 or however many labors and he has to perform a task to get his people back.
And a little bit he does, though, because through each adventure that's being told, Sally kind of brings him back to his former self.
Sally does, though.
Right,
but he's not doing anything.
No, but it's their dynamic together where he's becoming...
Oh, they're your anchors.
I know, I do love the scene. But he's becoming his old, better, quote-unquote self because of her.
Because of Sally, yeah.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, part of it comes down to, and I think in a movie like this, it's really a question of enjoying hanging out with the characters. And we've said this before.
Right.
If you enjoy hanging out with the characters, it could be 12 hours long and you're going to love it. Because it's like hanging out with your friends.
Actually,
yeah.
My favorite movie is 8 hours long.
Mm-hmm. Tell him what it is.
It's The 10th Kingdom. And it's technically a mini series, but they rolled it all into one movie.
Yeah. Well,
just like they did with It.
Well, yeah, that's true. Because what is it? 4 hours or something like that? Whenever
it's 3 hours long in the final cut, but it was apparently supposed to be much longer, according to Adam Darby. But the studio got a hold of it, unfortunately. Oh, and I do love this one little joke, not to interrupt that train of thought, but they shoot a mouse at all the elephants to get the elephants to stampede. And
which is true. It's true. They tested it on Mythbusters, and they were absolutely blown away. They actually went to
The elephants were afraid of mice?
They actually had a thing where they had a mouse that was concealed under a fake rock, and they had the elephants were walking up, and they literally, like Jamie Hyneman was like, "This is the stupidest thing we've ever done. This is the
why are we even
This is the
testing this?"
biggest waste." And they flip open the thing, and there's the mouse, and the elephants freak out, and
You know, elephants are really smart. I do wonder if they know that mice and rats like carry diseases, and maybe that's why they scatter.
Well, because I saw it's in no way backed up by science, so don't really take this to the bank. But I saw one of those memes where apparently someone's attesting to the fact that elephants, they're so much larger than we are. Apparently, elephants interact with us the way that they do because they think we're cute.
Oh, like puppies, yeah. I saw that too.
So I'd be fascinated to know if that's a real thing.
Yeah, but how often have you gotten angry and trampled puppies?
Well, I don't know. Are they going after my baby?
You know?
Yeah, that's true. That's
Yeah.
true. But
Cute little puppy squish. Well,
God, but yeah.
But yay, the Baron saved the day now.
yes, he did. Yes, he did. For those of you at home wondering,
Huzzah!
would the Baron save the day? The answer is yes, by 2 falls and a knockout.
But is the movie over?
No.
Sure ain't.
And
No.
it pulls an Inception of all things because
I didn't get it.
So yeah, the town celebrates their victory, and the Baron ends up getting sniped.
Yeah, the Baron
And
goes.
killed.
The Baron goes through Dealey Plaza in the back of the limousine with Governor Connolly in the front seat.
Whoa.
No, that's what that scene was supposed to
Yeah,
be. It was
alright.
supposed to be explicitly the Kennedy assassination.
that makes me so much sadder.
Yeah.
Oh God.
But yeah, he gets sniped, and they start lowering him into the ground, and you think the movie's over, and then all of a sudden they're back on stage, and all the characters are they're just characters, and the Baron's old again.
Yeah, and meanwhile, all the dads who brought their kids to the theater throw their popcorn on the ground, say an expletive, and leave. That's what my dad would have done.
You think that it was all just a story, and they're like, "Oh my God, it was just a story," and the Baron's like, "You know what? No, come and
Storm
see.
the gates, because like I said, it's very Inception because they sort of leave you to your own opinion as to whether or not he saved the day,
Or if it was all just
he?
you think it's all just a story, but then they go to the front gates, and it turns out that the Turk army was defeated, and everybody's gone.
But you don't know if that's because,
You don't know if they just left or if it actually happened.
you don't see bodies anywhere. That's my definitive thing, is that because for those of you out there who are still confused about Inception, I don't understand why, but I will give you a hint. I'm not going to give away the actual ending of Inception, but the top is not Leo DiCaprio's totem. That is the hint that I will leave you with so that you can better understand Inception. But this movie has a similar ending.
Stop going on about Inception.
If it's dumb and stupid, then yeah, I guess it's everybody's favorite movie, Morty. But yeah, so you see
He's been shot. He's been shot. My God.
Oh, Jesus.
The Baron is on the ground.
Do you know that there was a big
There's panic in the plaza now.
There was a big really big controversy because many years back the Scottish developed a video game and held a contest. And I'm pretty sure it was Scotland, they had a video game where you had to simulate the assassination of President Kennedy, and whoever came the closest to doing it won some major prize. And
that's kind of dumb because if you've ever been to Dealey Plaza, it's a pretty easy shot.
oh my God, Jason!
No, that's one of the things that I always tell people who give me crap about the Kennedy assassination being a conspiracy, and they're like, no one could make that shot.
Yes, they could have.
Yeah, they could.
It's very realistic.
Yeah, it's a building right there and a guy in a car moving about 5 miles an hour.
No, but yeah, so Baron Munchausen unfortunately does get shot, and all the ladies are freaking out because...
And there's the doctor who ends up being
you the
angel of death.
Who looks like the bad guy from the first Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes.
He looks like the bad guy from like a lot of movies.
That's true.
Hello, I'm a Victorian bad guy.
But it's all irrelevant because he dies in his story, and then you come
no
back,
consequences.
Well, you come back to the stage, and he's like, "Well, that's one of the many times I've met my death, and if you're fortunate like me, you'll do it quite a bit."
Because he regenerated.
Yeah, he's a Time Lord.
In fact, all he did was he did an Enoch Root thing, for Neil Stephenson fans out there, where he just merged 2 different timelines together. He merged a timeline where the Turks were defeated into the timeline where he survived.
We can only do that a handful of times, Morty. It's not an infinite number.
Actually, I think that's what he did.
You pissed off the squirrels, Morty. You killed the Baron, Morty.
Yeah.
But anyway,
all he did was he found a timeline where the Turks were defeated.
and he
And
happened
he
to die
died,
about that
and
time.
he just
yeah.
merged it so
telling you.
that there weren't two of him in that timeline, and the Turks were defeated.
But yeah, so everybody's upset, including Bob Cephala over in the
Rude.
corner. And you see that he's got a tombstone and all that other, or a little monument to him at the very least.
And I kind of thought
His name is just Baron von Munchausen.
well, he's got a full. You know,
He listed his full name at some
Yeah,
point.
he says his full name at one point. But I actually looked on the tombstone and I thought and I know that's what they say on tombstones, but it is kind of awkward. It says "Here lies Baron von Munchausen."
Except he's not buried.
well, but he's known as a liar. You know, like he's a famous liar.
Ah,
And it's like "Here lies Baron von Munchausen,"
And then he's not actually
and then
dead.
he's not actually dead. So it's sort of like, was that Terry Gilliam sort of sneaking a little thing in there saying, yeah, he's lying.
That's
what he does.
That's the
Yeah.
spinning top
Yeah.
at the end of Inception.
Yeah,
There
yeah,
you go.
yeah.
And maybe that's another reason why they made his nose so outrageous. Is
Like
Pinocchio.
Pinocchio?
Yeah, the Pinocchio
the
thing.
lies, yeah.
And he gets swallowed by a whale.
Oh my
That's
God.
true.
You know.
Yeah.
So this is a multiverse capture just in and of itself.
Yeah, I wish you guys had read Neil Stephenson because I'm actually thinking now that's the only thing that makes it make sense. He's Enoch Road.
That's so funny.
I just love that he was such a good storyteller that even the actors thought that it was actually happening, and they were all
They're
like,
kind of mourning
they were
him
so,
toward the end.
Yeah, they were so into the story that they were emotionally abused.
Well, and
almost.
they're so into the story that they changed their entire tune about him because
Oh, yeah.
it's not just Sally who believes him by the end of the movie where we've gone forward in time again and Baron's old. He goes up against Jonathan Pryce. What was his name? He had such a fantastic name in this movie because the guy who shoots him,
Who drives an Infiniti
Is-
Q45. Superior by design.
oh God,
Mr. Bond. I love Jonathan Pryce.
Executor,
What's
execute.
What's in the case? That's from Ronin. I'm trying to think of more Jonathan Pryce movies.
God. Anyway, he has a long name too, Jonathan Pryce in this movie. I can't find it in my notes at the moment, but so he's kind of going up against the Baron right now, where he doesn't want the city to open the gates, and the Baron's like, "No, open the gates. Let's see if the Turks were really defeated or not." And Jonathan Pryce is freaking out, saying like, "I'll execute you for treason if
You're
you
all
go against
under
my will."
arrest.
yeah. So you started to think that he was holding the city hostage through fear.
Yeah.
Well,
See, that's what
theory-
I was expecting him to open up the gates and there to be absolutely nothing there.
Yeah, I thought he
Yeah.
was terrorizing his own
Yeah.
city to keep them, under his thumb. But you do go out and you see that there are all these campfires burning and stuff. But
Like there was clearly an army
but
there.
There was a
but
battle
there are
because
no bodies
because isn't the siege tower
They all leave though.
But isn't the siege tower broken when the
Well, I
That
guess we'll
cheese
find
grater
out.
we'll,
tower?
We'll find out.
But yeah, so you come out and you find
It's the Alamo.
He was telling a story, but he actually did defeat the Turks. So you think
He
Or maybe
merged.
not.
He merged timelines.
And
Yeah,
then he
so-
rides off into the sunset
He's
with
Frau
his
Orlo.
dog. And
with his dog and Bob
Bucephalus.
Cephala. I've always wanted to sell you a costume, Bobby. But yeah, so the Baron does go out to the gates, and you see that the Turkish army has abandoned all hope, and they've left, and that's great. But that still leaves you with the question:
Yeah.
did he do it?
Well, I think I've answered the question.
Well, even
Definitively, and that's all there is to
Time
it.
Lord.
The subject is closed.
he's a Time Lord.
It was actually the dog the whole time.
Yeah,
The dog did all of it.
It's like that Denzel Washington movie where he's a demon and you think that he's been defeated, but then his soul transfers into a cat. I cannot
what
remember.
movie is that?
No, it's a real movie. It's something like Fallen or it.
Fallen is some
No.
preteen thing.
It's something similar in title, is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, Denzel Washington is this demon whose spirit can
I know what you're talking
transfer
about.
to people, but only they obviously have to be alive.
Yeah.
And the way that the movie sets
Damn it!
it up,
I know
there's
exactly what you're talking
God,
about. Yeah.
The way that the movie sets it up, you think that he can only transfer his soul from person to person, but then the end of the movie happens, and the guy who's battling Denzel traps him where he's the only one that Denzel can put himself into. So he kills himself to trap the demon and make sure that the demon can't take over anybody else. But
No,
then,
I was wrong. The siege tower isn't broken,
no, it's not.
but there is smoke.
But then the demon.
there are many siege towers, though. Who's to say that was the
Well,
one?
true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
And some guy has a chair.
Yeah, like you
Yeah.
do.
I brought,
'cause
I brought a chair.
there was a scene where they threw the chair up against the wall to like barricade it, so he probably took it down.
Get my
And then just
chair
held it
back.
above his head.
Yeah, see all the wreckage down there? That's the same wreckage from the battle.
Yeah.
I can't call that horse anything else now.
And Ronald,
He's Bob's
Ronald McDonald standing behind that, standing in the background.
No, but yeah, to completely ruin that Denzel movie, he transfers his being into a cat.
Yeah, we get it.
So
Anyway, we've moved on.
she's not seen it. Anyway, yeah. So, but this is the most poignant moment where Sally looks at the Baron and she's like, "It wasn't just a story, was it?" And he neither confirms nor denies.
I can't tell you.
The top is still spinning.
I do love how he throws a rose at Sally at the end as just kind of like, atta girl.
Well, and when he looks at Uma Thurman, it's almost like Uma Thurman is actually Venus, and they're sharing this like
they know some
this
secret.
knowing glance.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Sally's putting a cigarette out, going, fucking humans.
Well,
I
Sally,
had to make it so difficult.
It was kind of sweet for Sally because the movie starts out.
Who doesn't get a rose?
Yeah, she does.
She
No.
just got a flower.
It's not a rose.
It's not a rose, it's a flower.
All the other women in the movie get a rose. She
Well,
she
it
gets a
was-
scarlet pimpernel.
What?
Wow, I love that you know
No, it's a
that.
rose. Look.
No, it's a scarlet pimpernel. When he hands it to her, it's very obviously a purple flower that's not a rose.
It was
Well-
very obviously red, but it was also a fake flower where you could see that it had fallen apart.
No, but when he actually hands it to her, it's not the same flower.
But that's
And
kinda
the
fitting for her.
debate is, does that mean anything on the internet?
Well,
Is it significant that he gives her a different flower?
I think it all ties together in the sense that in the beginning of the movie, Sally is complaining
Dark
to
Crystal
her.
is supposed to play next. That was my other favorite
Yeah.
childhood
I was going to
movie.
ask, like,
Are you
what
ready
people had
for the
purchased.
Netflix series?
Look, I hope. Maybe.
It's
Look,
still the puppets.
Dark Crystal, when I was a kid, a little kid, that movie scared the bejesus
The
out of me.
Skeksis?
Oh my God. Have you been to the Puppetry Museum and seen?
He's on right now.
Yeah.
I haven't been, but I really want to.
Yeah, it's cool. When you walk in that room and it's in there, it like,
Oh, I need to go. That was like this movie, Dark Crystal, Labyrinth, and one of the Ewok movies were like my roundabout movies.
what, the Battle for Endor?
Your play on loop movies.
Yeah.
What was the name of that
Something
Ewok movie?
Endor.
Yeah, something Endor.
I don't know
It was
why
a TV.
I liked
It was a TV movie. No, I liked it when I was a kid. Yeah.
But I did those 4 movies just like on repeat.
No, the
and Legend. Legend and
Legends of
the
the
Last
Fall.
Unicorn.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
Legend, which has Tim
Legend.
Curry.
Yeah, Legend.
Tim Curry.
Yeah. Oh
Yes.
yeah. Legend is
And a very handsome young Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But before we get too far off the flower thing, what I thought it symbolized was the fact that there was a man in Sally's life that recognized and valued her as a girl. Because
Yeah,
in the
I
beginning
can
of the
see that,
movie,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
her dad
Yeah.
has the whole theater
Son.
troupe, and it's like Salt and Son, and she's the one defacing the
Crossing
flyer.
out, putting daughter.
Yeah, and putting daughter, and he's like, Son is more traditional. That's the way we should do it. But then
Yeah,
she
then
gets
he
a
changes his
flower.
mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no,
That's
but
cute.
the Baron
That's
recognizes
such a good movie.
It's
How dare you hate on it?
I do what I please.
Well, let's go to our tried and true method of analyzing a movie.
Meg, I believe you remember this. The Alf to
Seinfeld scale.
Seinfeld scale. So, where does The Adventures of Baron Munchausen fall on the scale for you?
Still love it.
So, are we talking like Seinfeld level, just below? Like, where would you put it?
9
9 out of 10 on the Alf to Seinfeld, or 1 out of 10.
9 out of 10.
With you, I know it's going to be in the 9 to 10 range.
Yeah,
but-
it is.
'cause you love it. So, what's the exact grade?
I give it a 9 still.
Okay.
I am back where, what was the last movie I gave a 5 to? Where it was,
We've done so many recently. I'm not.
yeah,
sure.
I don't remember.
Okay, what did you give this movie the last time
I think
you
Mrs.
watched it?
Doubtfire.
Because a 5 on the Alf to Seinfeld scale means it hasn't gotten any worse or better since I was a kid.
It's
I
sort of
still-
maintained a
I still-
Rocco's
I-
modern life status.
Yeah, it's like it's still
holds up.
Yeah, because it's like what are some of my favorite movies. Last Starfighter. No, Iron Eagle. No, that's a 2.
Kind of like the movie Lost
Starship
Starfighter.
Troopers.
Ooh.
Oh God.
Great movie. Shut up.
Yeah. It's not a
Not
bad
to
movie.
mention,
Yeah.
Rico and Dizzy haven't aged today. Saw them at Dragon Con last year. Still looking smoking.
Denise Richards.
She's had a lot of work done.
She's had her troubles. But she was in a Bond movie, so
Denise Richards was in a Bond movie?
Yeah, she played Christmas Jones.
Which Bond?
It wasn't Die Another Day.
I was about to say...
No, but like which Bond?
Pierce Brosnan.
The only one I remember with Pierce Brosnan is with Halle Berry.
She played a nuclear scientist. Sorry,
you can't even get through that without laughing. My God, it's she was married to Charlie Sheen,
and her name was
sakes.
Christmas Jones. And the only reason she was named Christmas Jones was so that at the end of the movie, when Pierce Brosnan is having sex with her, he can say, "I thought Christmas only came once a year."
Classic.
That was where we were in the 90s, folks, or in the early 2000s.
Pierce.
Yeah.
I thought it only arrived once a
Yeah,
year, according to a previous episode.
And Sophie Marceau was in the same movie, so they got Denise
Not to be
Richards.
confused with Marcel.
No, slightly different. She looks she looks better in stockings, than
And
he
she
does.
talks more.
Yeah.
But wah wah. But okay, so where does this? You said this holds up where for you?
It's a 5. It hasn't moved.
Okay.
Because a 5 isn't bad. Because that's the thing about the Alf to Seinfeld scale.
How did you like it when you were a kid, though?
It was all right.
You told me earlier that you liked it when you were a kid.
No, I told you I've never figured out how I felt about it.
Or I thought that's how you felt now.
No, I've never. It's like I've seen it a bunch of times and I still don't know how I feel about it. You know?
Whereas
So we have like, and hate.
Yeah, I think we're all across the spectrum on this
I'm
one.
I'm not on a straight hate with this one. I'd give it about a 4.
Yeah, I don't hate it by any means.
I'd give it about a 3.5.
Look at
4.
those IMDb stars.
But see, just because
Yeah, all 384 votes.
right.
It's
How
only
many
been out since 1988.
But Jason, let's do our tried and true experiment of what other people purchased alongside this movie.
And I will tell you, I'm looking at it, and okay, 20,000
Willow?
Leagues, awesome. Black Cauldron, awesome.
Yep.
Last Starfighter, Aldrin, awesome.
Starfighter?
Journey to the Center of the Earth,
Labyrinth, awesome.
Yeah.
Tron.
The original Tron. Willow, Neverending Story, and The Dark Crystal. But
Those are all great.
Here's the problem, though. I see a little bit of Popeye sticking.
No, you don't.
Yeah, it's oh no, this movie is. Oh, other customers watched Popeye. Robin Williams' first movie, though. So
I did watch Willow recently as well.
Oh, Willow's great.
So good.
Yeah, Willow's great.
Wait, this wasn't Robin Williams' first movie.
No, Popeye.
Oh, I was like, okay.
Popeye,
I was like, no. But yeah, so I'd give it a solid
20,000 Leagues
3.54.
Under the Sea with James Mason.
I haven't seen that movie in so long.
Easy cut rate, James Mason.
Yeah. It's got God in it. How can you not watch that movie?
James Mason,
James
who is
Mason.
God.
Well,
Jeezy crazy. Just tell me what's going on.
Before we go completely off the rails,
Which we haven't yet with all of our other talk.
I think that we've covered this movie about as much as anyone can cover this movie.
And still respect themselves.
We hope that you learned some useful trivia.
Mm-hmm.
We apologize to any fat fetishists that we may have offended.
Chubby chasers.
Sorry.
Oh my
I forgot to use the politically correct term.
Dark posting. What was it?
No,
Not blackmailing.
African American mailing.
No, that's not what you came up with. It was something different. I have to re-listen. But anyway.
Oh God, you go back and listen to these? I never did that.
I do. I actually enjoy our show, believe it or not.
No, as soon as we're done, I'm out.
I know. That's why I'm the one who has to write the show notes, listeners. So you have to put up with my bad jokes in writing, too. Deal with it. You can blame Jason. So, Meg, is there anything, would you like anybody to follow you anywhere? Or especially after this movie or anything like that?
Oh, God.
Yes, would you like anyone following there?
On the social mediums?
On social media? Oh, okay. I thought, in real life.
You know,
Let's
the
see.
Tweeter, the Countenance
The
novel, any
Tweeter.
of those? Any of
I
those?
am on the Twitters.
She is.
I believe it's my gaming handle, actually.
The
Meg.
you want to spell that out for the listeners in
God,
case
if I
they'd
have
like to
to.
find you on Twitter?
MAGEGMEG.
We're not NATO phoneticking that for you guys at all.
Yes.
Oh, Jason, you would appreciate this story because you and Adam use the NATO phonetic alphabet around me all the time. The other day, because I've known it since I was a little kid, my uncle taught it to me, and I was spelling it out for somebody at work. I had to spell out my username, and I was like, it's LC29CB, so Lima Charlie 29 Charlie Bravo. And she was like, ma'am, your username really shouldn't be that long. I was like, it's LC 29.
You've gotta be
CB.
kidding.
Oh no, she
Yeah,
had no
oh
idea
my
what I was talking
God.
about. It was hysterical. So there's that.
Oh, the place that we went to train actually had the alphabet.
And
taped
they
to
do
her
army
computer.
time, yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Or European time, as they call it in Europe.
We don't believe in that in America, but
I think we should do. I use 24-hour time. I think
I
it's,
know you do.
I think it's better.
Men do that a lot.
Yeah.
My husband does that, and I
it
don't.
makes a lot of sense.
When you think about
No.
it, it actually does make sense.
Well,
you
they
know?
do a good gag about it on Mrs. Maisel where Alex Borstein shows up. They're trying to get Midge on a spot on TV, and they're like, in television, we do army time. So just add 12 to any number we give you. And I'm like, wait a minute. No. And it stressed me out because then later they figured it out. They were like, adding 12 to anything doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, because if you add 12 to 23,
It's nonsensical.
It's-
Yeah,
yeah.
it's utterly nonsensical.
we have to be there at 35 o'clock.
Exactly. So, anyway.
On that interesting note,
Yes, all this trivia that you learned from us that you never asked for, and now it's taking up your attic space in your brain. So
Yes.
you're welcome.
well, we want to thank. In fact, not only do I want to thank, I hate it when people say that. I thank.
You
There
will
you
think.
go.
Yes,
You
I
will.
thank. Yeah, I had an English teacher that beat that into me. You know, don't say I would like to thank. Just thank them.
Don't say very because it's lazy.
Yes.
I mean, maybe you would like to, but then you never get around
Yeah,
to it.
sure. I'd
Another
like to thank
Robin
this
Williams
guy, but he
shout-out.
hadn't done anything worth it. Thanks to our co-host, our guest co-host, our repeat guest co-host, and there have
You're
not
actually
been
getting
very
a
many of
couple
those.
now. Yeah.
Meg, thank you for once again watching,
up with us for
yeah,
about
putting
an
up
hour
with
or
us.
Yeah, anytime.
And thanks to the audience for putting up with us. And
Australia,
we do love you, Australia. And Japan. We're getting more traffic from Japan.
Well,
Oh.
hello.
Careful, guys.
No, to see,
It's Japan.
Oh, it's
that's
evening.
true.
Konbanwa.
Konnichiwa.
She speaks a little Japanese.
I
which
do.
Come on, let's say.
But it's funny, listeners, because with this particular studio setup, we've got the two people that I share most of my brain with. Meg, more so than anybody else on the planet, because I've literally known her for over half my life at this point.
Yeah, long
That's-
fucking time. My God.
That's crazy. So we're not going to age ourselves, but you know how old I am, so you already know. It doesn't matter.
Oh, but I'm told I look like I'm 25.
Exactly. So I'm not going to age you. How about that? Either way, these are the people that I share so much of my brain with on a regular weekly basis, daily basis, if we're talking Meg versus Jason. But I once again, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. You can find us on the social mediums that are no longer relevant. Facebook and Twitter is what I'm hearing from Jason. You can find us on the Insta. That's what I hear the cool kids call it.
The gram.
The gram, is that what it is now?
I don't know.
Oh, damn.
I'm on there too, though.
She is. So you can find us and Meg on Instagram. We're not going to make it easy for you. Find us. This has been Hindsight is Horrifying. Meg, once again, thank you for joining us. You want to say bye to the listeners?
Bye, everybody.
And she'll be back, guys, because apparently people really do want to come back, including...
I think we'll do the Dark Crystal next.
Yes, I'm on it.
Yeah.
all these movies that I haven't seen, so...
You've never seen the Dark Crystal?
Jeff
Show's
and I
over.
did.
Just in the show.